Futures downside once again this morning as we get more tariff-related headlines coming out of the White House late on Friday and over the weekend. More escalation surrounding this Greenland storyline. We'll touch on the whys coming up here this morning. Long story short, yeah, there's the S&P 500 down about 1.5 to 1.75% right now. Nasdaq about the same. To start things off so far this morning as we head into the thick of things as far as earnings go, we'll get Netflix after the close coming up tonight. We'll bring that to you live as it happens. Make sure you stick around for that. Long story short, it's going to be a risk-off kind of a day once again, where you get gold higher, you get silver higher, you get the dollar actually heading in the opposite direction. I think mostly on the back of the context of this story on a global standpoint here, as we get the threat, at least, of more tariffs on countries that don't back the U.S. plan to do something with Greenland. What that ends up being remains to be seen. Specifically, though, Europe in question here, I think, in a pretty big way, from the standpoint that they already had allegedly a deal done when it comes to tariffs. Now, he's coming back saying, well, wait a minute, there could be more, which is setting a crazy precedent, I think.
And we've seen this before with Europe retaliating against American companies. We know the Digital Markets Act there allows them to basically fine these American tech companies 1% or more of their global revenue or their global profit. I'll have to double check on that. So that's very much in focus today. And you're seeing negativity on all the Mag 7 right now. But you got to keep your eyes, as Brendo mentioned, on the precious metals. Silver, another all-time high. Gold really breaking out. Nat gas, not really specifically related to the European tensions, of course, but it is freezing as hell outside here. I'm sure you guys are feeling some of that in the Northeast as well in the United States, and that's what nat gas, I believe UNG's up almost 16% here to start the morning, Brendo. So there's a whole lot to talk about.
I feel like we were talking about nat gas last week kind of randomly, and then, yeah, here we are in a huge cold snap to start the week off here. Here's gold to start the week off. Speaking of, that's a daily chart of gold futures right now. All-time highs. As we said, silver following very closely. Silver's been such a wild ride over the past couple of weeks. We'll see what happens here. But going into, as we said, the heart of earnings season, there's so many directions we can head as far as the narrative is concerned. Netflix seems to have this Warner Brother thing done on the all-cash deal standpoint. They're going to go with Netflix, it looks like, up a little bit here. What is it? Better part of $1, I guess, dollar and change higher from where it ended on Friday right now for Netflix, but we'll hear from them coming up.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. I'm just waiting for this saga to end, right? I feel like it's going to be a lot more in this sort of pseudo-drama because it's such a prolonged regulatory window for this thing to close. Yeah. If the Netflix deal goes through, Warner Brothers has to divest their legacy media, which could take 12 to 18 months. That's part number one. Then the regulators got to come in. President Trump has already made his kind of intentions quite clear that the Netflix may be the acquirer may not be the best one to look at here. But crypto as well, Brendo. I don't know if you noticed on the weekend, we saw some weakness in the crypto market, Bitcoin specifically, basically echoing, or the timing was perfect with President Trump's retaliatory tariffs on these European countries that don't support the acquisition of Greenland. And it really hasn't recovered since that statement.
And here we were sitting here last week, talking a little bit about the disconnect, or the seemingly disconnect between equities and crypto, but maybe we're a little early on that because we're seeing, the metals, actual metals, gold and silver flying. Crypto, not so much. Here's Lululemon, interesting headline this morning. More activist headlines surrounding Lululemon. Was reading a little bit about this once again. The board, the activist side of it, looking to essentially tear apart the board and put their people into the board that they want to see. This stock did recover a little bit going back to, I guess it was the beginning of December into the end of last year. Hasn't done much since, but we were talking about this a little bit. I guess it was November, December last year. Yep. Starting to see a little bit of a recovery here for Lululemon, but they're still about a month away here for earnings.
Yeah, 3 independent directors, Brendo. He's trying to reshape the board. He's the founder, of course, doesn't like where the company's been going, has made his intentions or his feelings quite clear about the misdirection of the company. So we're going to have to see how that all works out. But he remains one, Wilson, this Chip Wilson guy, he's the founder. Yep. He remains one of the largest shareholders. He owns about a little bit more than 4.25% of the company. So that one to keep an eye on. And then I got to mention as well, because it's making such a big move pre-market, Apple Oven. Sure. They're being invested investigated here. APPP, I think, or APP, excuse me, is down double digits. I think 13, 14%. You're going to have to double check, but a lot of volatility pre-market.
Yeah, wild stock over the past couple of weeks anyways to the downside. I mean, this thing had a huge run up last year as well. I guess 490, maybe that low. Next stop, we're at 526 right now for APP. We'll keep an eye on that one as well. So many things to talk about, guys. Happy Monday. Tuesday, it's Tuesday.
I
knew that was going to happen.
You almost got it there.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of the mistake it for Monday. That has a feel to it, of course. So welcome everybody, but a holiday shortened week for sure. And Tuesday is going to be a busy one. Maybe not even considered is the outside remote potential that we could get a Supreme Court decision again. I feel like every time the Supreme Court meets, we might actually end up with something. So we'll keep our ear to the ground for that. But it has to be about geopolitically what's going on, metals, crypto. I think if you're surprised by what's happening with Bitcoin, I don't think you should be. It's been a risk event for sure, been a risk stock for sure, and now trying to bounce off 91K after what had been a pretty decent run going into last week. So there's a lot to get to, and of course, earnings this week start to unfold. We got bigger things for earnings next week, but certainly, Netflix, something to look at other than the Warner Brothers deal, I think, after the bell, and then later in the week, we're going to get Intel. So there is a lot for us to unpack today. But the doom and gloom gap down over these tariffs has a similar feel, not as extreme to April, but kind of a similar feel. Like everyone sort of panicked on it. Every single time we've had this kind of a morning, typically it's been by the opening rush, more often than not, when we have this type of a gap down on this headline. So I kind of expect the rest. And yeah, it sucks. I'll get that out of the way. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, of course. That's sports, of course. Look, gold up here, up 3%. So that's going to be a nice mover there today. I mean, if you're looking at your portfolio, hopefully you diversified a little bit into SLV or to GLD. We talked about these and sort of, the run that they've been on. Welcome, everybody. I hope everybody did have such a great day yesterday with the day off and celebrated Martin Luther King Day. I was watching. I was like, why is there all these basketball games on? So it's nice to see in the middle of the day there. But silver up 5.5%, gold up 3%, I think it was just a couple seconds ago. So these names moving around. And then Brendan and Sharif mentioned IBIT as well. I mean, Bitcoin getting hit pretty good today, down 5%. Not a great morning to come over and look at your portfolio, of course, unless you're in CRML, critical metals, and different names like that. And it just goes to show about the diversification, of the portfolios, right? I mean, even if you're wondering about the strength of this market, well, you got to go over to the VIX. And if you type in, VIX into here, and we see what the volatility is spiking here today. So we get up to 19 and change right now on the VIX. So, took out basically all of December, all of January. We've seen spikes like this before. And if we talked about, Neil mentioned the tariff tantrum there back in April, we got up to 50 and 60 bucks here. Well, not dollars, but as a unit price there on the volatility index. So watch out if we get a spike up in the market. I think you can look for go long here on some of the VIX if you're trying to sort of hedge one of your portfolios. They're still looked at two or so, maybe 3 rate cuts this year. So I think things are still doing well. But yeah, man, it's a pretty big downside move. And then there was, you talked about nat gas, man. It is getting cold around here. It's supposed to be freezing over the next couple of weeks.
We got a bad one.
So lots to go through there.
Yesterday was, I don't know if you got outside yesterday. Like I thought yesterday was cold with the wind.
Cold,
we were out obviously with the day off, my daughter actually had a PA day, so there was
you were saying.
There was no school, so I get to have fun with her. And then when one of the neighborhood kids came by to play, so I took them tobogganing, and they were having an absolute blast.
Yeah.
The clouds went over the sun,
and then it became
and then the wind started picking up,
and
the kids went from this is the greatest thing ever after an hour to we're getting really cold. Let's go home.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's not enjoyable.
An hour's pretty good, though, outside.
That cold, though. So, I don't know. I was disappointed.
Kids are different, though. Kids don't feel it as much as we do.
Yeah, but that's what was surprised. Even they were like, we're too cold. Let's go home. I'm like, okay, let's do it. Hot chocolate after.
Yeah, a lot of coaches fired this weekend. We'll see. Now the college season is done, so we'll see if some coaches move over and get going there. Green Bay extended LaFleur, of course, and you guys got rid of yours, and Tomlin's there. Just saw someone talk about Tomlin.
Kubiak, I think.
In there. So, yeah, lots of stuff happening. Oh, Adam James brought one up to a volcano. Ooh.
Wait, what?
Said it went up to a volcano on Saturday.
Oh snap! That sounds cool.
Yeah. That is cool. I wonder where you're at, Adam James James Bond. Yes, critical metals up 9%, should be going there today. It's going to be interesting to hear what Trump has to say about Greenland and how that all sort of figures out and flows through, right? I mean, we just talked about some of the different metal plays happening there. We looked at the VIX as well. And then you have stocks, just normal stocks down 2, 3, 4% today. Tesla getting hit downside again, another 2%. NVIDIA there. I mean, Canada's out, Carney's out making some deals. But we'll have to wait to see how this affects China and some of that rhetoric. I don't know. We trying to figure out like some Greenland plays there. That's why the critical metals is trying to go. I feel like Bitcoin is going to be a pretty decent look today at some point, right? I don't know what Ethereum. I want to go short everything. I think this is just the tip of the iceberg right now. Ethereum down 6% as well. So wow, yeah, there's a lot of blood in the streets, guys. Let us know. Put it in the chat what you guys want us to look at and talk about here today, and we'll definitely get over there and look at some names. But buying dip names, Google, things like that. Some Caterpillar, I think you can get into your life because the rebuild is happening. And the build out for a lot of these data centers, you're going to need equipment. So Google continues to work. This can be its 4th straight down day. And then, yeah, a name that I was talking about, I like this Caterpillar. I like some, there's GEV. There's a couple decent names in there. And the banks tried to rally last week off of Goldman and Morgan. And today, back to the downside. I think you're going to see everything pretty much red in your portfolio unless you
own metals.
That's what I was going to say, unless you have some of those.
VIX. The VIX up to 20.
Bitcoin down. Yeah.
What is Solana's down? What's up to? The VIX has got to be.
Yeah, we looked at the VIX was up. Yeah, it's up huge. Yeah.
I think we should still be
19.
killing it.
VIX was 50. What already showed it? Neil. 15 to 19 there. VIX.
I think the thing about here though is you have one more push. It's not the end of no one's pricing in that this is even that big of an event if we don't hold up here, because we've spiked past the teens before. And usually, it's a little bit more intense if we get into the 20s, and even then, that's not that big of a deal. I think when you put the bigger picture in mind, it's not the end of the world. But you know what? I want to point to this, because I was showing Sharif this chart and get some thoughts on Bitcoin, because the old Bitcoin trend line, look what's happening, and it did it again the last couple of weeks, where our prior support from 2023, zoom it in, almost on a dime, we've now turned 1, 2, 3, 4 times prior support on the daily chart has been resistance. So each time we've actually made higher lows. First we were bouncing off, bounced 80 and then 85s. We'll see how far this move takes us if we get back down and retest that 85. But every single bounce here off that prior trend line has gotten to that 85,000 zone. So that'll be a key one to watch here on Bitcoin. All of crypto is moving, obviously. Solana taking some out. When I was looking at some of the quote boards, some of the biggest movers, obviously, and probably get talked about today, are going to be like treasury plays, like your BMNRs are moving around, MSTRs, and then some of the inverse ETFs, obviously, for reasons that should obviously be understood by many. So there's a lot to cover on daily today. I feel like even the small cap stocks will probably have related themes a lot of the times here. Like critical metals is one we're certainly going to talk about. So buckle up. It should be a wild ride. I can't promise it'll be fun for your portfolio, but it should be a wild ride this week.
Yeah, if you like volatility, it'll be fun. Well, it's a roller coaster. Roller coasters are fun. You got to go up, you got to go down. Just giving you a good opportunity to buy. Right, earnings are still been pretty solid. This is all geopolitical tensions, and we've seen it before. So rinse and repeat. I think you just got to get. Hopefully, they have some, some dry powder. We talked about selling, Intel's near some of these tops. I've been talking about getting out of some Palantir, even at some of these highs. Intel's still pretty good, right? Intel's actually up. Here we go. I found one. Intel's up today. There you go. Intel up 0.2. So there's going to be some areas where you can probably try to still get out, and if you wanted to, it's not even like you're in trouble that much. I mean, even a stock like NVIDIA is back to where it was, last Tuesday? I mean, not a big deal here. NVIDIA, yeah, just back to where it was late last week. El Salvador says hello. I missed that. What? CR something V right there. What's up to El Salvador? There. That's where he is. He's in El Salvador. Nice. Okay.
When you said you're visiting a volcano, the first thing that came to my mind was Joe the Volcano, that 80s movie with Tom Hanks.
You're right. Yeah, that's been an old one. Yeah, Tom Hanks has been in so many movies. CRVS here, Corvus Pharmaceuticals. Was this on our, I thought I read something about this somewhere. It was on one of our, no, it's not on our super chat, on our watch list. But yeah, CRVS, good job, James, bringing this to everybody's attention. Obviously, when you talk about a pharmaceutical name, you know, you've probably been up here before if you ever got sort of some, maybe not. I was going to say some sort of an approval of something, but yeah, there it goes,
like
man.
they did.
CRVS, huge move upside. Yeah.
Yeah, I see they got results of a phase 1 clinical trial evaluating a drug I cannot pronounce for patients with moderate to severe atopic dermatitis. So it's a phase 1 trial result that has that one going for sure. And we also got US ADP employment change, 8K versus 11. This is kind of like a second order, not a huge number.
Jobs are going to be important, very
whatsoever. But we are paying more attention, I think, to the labor market these days, at least for the Fed. But I don't think that's going to move the needle. We're not going to cut the next term. Anyways, today is probably going to be about how we're reacting to these new tariff threats, everybody. So I think we got to kind of focus on that. And on the outside, and remember, at 10 o'clock, last time I said we're not going to plan too heavily that you get something from the Supreme Court, but there is the chance at 10 o'clock again. So we'll see. Last time was a nothing burger. I'm going to go into it expecting a nothing burger again, and then if there's a decision, there's a decision. But I think you want to be aware of it coming in at 10 o'clock, certainly that there is that possibility. So we'll keep our ear to the ground. You know, Brendan, Dara, Sharif, everybody here will be waiting, anticipating. What do you guys think? You think there's, what percent chance do you think the Supreme Court actually rules on the tariffs today? I like the zero.
I don't know. It seems like they're just going to do this on their own pace, and nobody really cares at this point.
I think we'll get an immediate market reaction if it goes against him, probably to the high side. But like he's made very clear many different times, and I'm sure his administration is preparing for this eventuality. They'd be foolish if they weren't. That he's going to come at this another way. And it could be, you know, that more prolonged, another year of litigation before this finds its way to the Supreme Court. And then if you're another country, what are you doing, Brenda? Are you going to hold off another year of uncertainty, or are you just going to get this and put it behind you? At some point, the Supreme Court probably is considering this practical reality as opposed to just, you know, more of a jurisprudence analysis of the legality of things. They're probably looking and saying, all right, how many countries have struck deals? How many countries are relying on these deals to move forward? And that has to form some of their assessment, one must assume.
Definitely.
So it's going to be interesting to see.
And it seems like they're leaning, anyways, from what I've read, they're leaning more towards the topicality type of resolution per se, where it's, you know, an individual type of decision versus just a blanket yes or no for all of them. But I think it was Scott Bessent that was on Friday came out and said, or maybe it was Lutnick, they'll do 10% tariffs across the board. If it's a no, they can do 10% tariffs across the board using other means. So. As you said, there'll be other options for them. But anyway, a couple people mentioning Intel back to the upside here. We ended the day below 47 on Friday, just took that out. So back to green here for Intel. Some of the semiconductors showing a little bit of strength. There was a note out of China. It's worth noting as well. Davos is underway this week. There's a bunch of people already making comments. Ray Dalio, I just saw, was commenting on the global situation, the global economy, and where things seem to be heading. Trump tomorrow at Davos, that's going to be a market mover regardless, I think. But Chinese ADR's downside here, there's a few people in the chat that were talking about this Carney or Canada-China deal. So they're going to go from 100%, the major headline was they're going to go from 100% tariffs on Chinese EVs down to 6.5%. And they're going to allow 49,000 to be sold in Canada per year.
Yep.
So from 100% all the way down to 6.5% is a massive, massive move. And then there's some agricultural stuff as well around canola oil. But I mean, we're already doing that, I think.
There's going to be some investment stuff. The Chinese are going to invest some, you know, in critical infrastructure, whether it's batteries or EVs. So some Chinese money going to find its way here. But listen to this. This is an interesting take. Tesla's actually the best suited of these Chinese-made EVs to tap the Canadian market. Let me tell you why. Because back in 23, they set up a Model Y, a Canada-specific Model Y variant to be produced in Shanghai to make its way over here. They set up the whole thing, and they actually, I think they bumped it up 460% within 1 year. Then, Prime Minister or former Prime Minister Trudeau, let's call him that, put the 100% tariffs to kind of shadow what President Biden had done.
Right.
So Tesla had to cancel that whole thing. So Tesla's actually got Shanghai infrastructure ready and willing to ship cars to Canada. They've already done it, already to go. So if you're looking at who may benefit, at least in the short term, maybe not the long term, but the short term, Tesla stands to benefit a lot.
Maybe we'll get that third row Model Y rolling around the streets of Toronto here fairly shortly. But regardless, the Chinese story today was around regulations and tech-related more than anything. So some of the tech-related ADRs guys downside here, including Baba this morning.
Yeah, I think we were talking last week about maybe not chasing this move in Alibaba. Certainly, this has been looking very, very good. There's no questions asked. Like, this broke trend on the daily, was looking like it was maybe trying to retest some of those highs, but when you look at how things move and you look at how it got to the downside, I mean, you stair-step down, you usually stair-step to the upside as well. Like, it was lower highs and consolidations, and I guess we're pulling back. And I want to see if we can actually hold on to this 50 period. That's going to be a theme for me in a couple of things today, like Bitcoin. We'll look at IBIT at the 50 period. That'll be a topic for me. And I think looking to see if we can actually hold on to this 50 on the daily in the upcoming days here for Alibaba and reaction. It's about 157. Maybe you go back to like 155 as well. I think that gets held, and it looks pretty productive for this upward move. And again, remember, when you're looking at any of the Chinese ADRs, you are going to be focused a little bit on some geopolitics, and there's going to be a lot of headline risk, but that doesn't mean that you don't have standard sort of technical plays that bear out. I think that's what's happening in Alibaba, and holding on to the 50 would confirm that. Give it a day or two, because I think one good down day and you're pretty much at that level. So I'd like to see that test here on Alibaba specifically. Looking across, I mean, there's some others that move as well. And looking over at PDD, which has been taking it on the chin a little bit more. If you're going to look at the other end of the spectrum, like what doesn't look remotely productive, this one, on the other hand, looks like we might be headed back to retest some lows. Like, this would be falling into some pretty hefty support on Pinduoduo at $90 if it gets any worse than it already is. So one, looking to pull back on some prior highs. Pinduoduo is on the precipice. Like, you're 10% away from the only support that's been there for the last couple of years. And then from there, it gets pretty ugly. But yeah, two to have on watch. Baba, I own. Pinduoduo, I think that's more of a trading opportunity than anything else, if it gets down.
Yeah, all right, guys. Yeah, Joe's not back till next Monday. Sorry, he went in the chat. He's in the chat, but he's not back until next Monday. So taking some time off there to recuperate. What's up, Joe, my guy? Yeah, those just looking. I mean, we talked about some moves that were happening last week, and we saw a big move up there in Boeing. So if you like that stock, you know, I think this is probably. I don't want to think you go in and buy anything today, but, you know, on a little bit of a pullback, the stock's been on one. I mean, broken through some of these levels here, 235, 240, nice little top area there for Boeing. Let's see if it winds up holding out right now, top end. So that would be a good little area to look for potential pullback. To buy a good story. And then this relates to China as well, you know, as Chinese step in here and start to buy some planes. I think Boeing could be a good talk. We talked about some Caterpillar on weakness. I like that play as well. And then if you are worried about the overall China story, we have FXI. These guys down, not too bad today. Is that Randy over here? What's going on, Randy? Yeah, we got to move here. Why don't we just move this? We don't want to celebrate Denver until we get here. Neil, take that out of here.
I'll take this.
We'll celebrate once we get Brian Shannon on, who probably didn't watch the game, but he's from Denver. Did you watch any football this weekend? Okay. The Bills, yeah, same old story there. So I've written down Tesla here. I mean, I know we're going to get into some Tesla stories, weak Cybertruck demand, so on and so forth. That's not really the story for me. I wrote down the weak Cybertruck. It's on our watch list, but down 2.2%. Obviously, a huge multinational company, and if we start to get very, very nervous about EU, about tariffs, about China again, about Canada, as we just mentioned, the benefit coming for Tesla, fine. But this is not a great story if there's going to be all this strife. I mean, we've seen this name obviously getting hit before, but if you look back in April, it didn't actually get crushed like a lot of these other names did. So let's see if Tesla makes a little bit of a move down and able to, buy, oh man, this, again, my charts keep on getting a little bit choppy here, into 400 for Tesla. I don't think that happens today, but I do like the short here. I've only written down 2 shorts so far. That is going to be the market. We got to wait for this market to settle down a little bit. It's getting a little bit of a bump up now, which is nice. If we can short this around 53, it should be a good trade. That's what we've written down. And then we'll look at, like I said, maybe Boeing for a dip buy and then Tesla potentially for a short as well. But yeah, Tesla earnings, people talking about. I actually don't even know when Tesla reports. Let me just double check that. Right now, reports in 8 days, Wednesday, January the 28th for Tesla. So that should be exciting. Wednesday. So yeah, that would be a day potentially we'll be staying late as well. Tonight, we'll get Netflix. I don't expect too much movement here, but that $30 Time Warner, their bid should be solidified soon. It's going to be all cash.
Netflix is $27.75.
Yeah, but it's $30 cash is what they're trying to do, right? Isn't it?
No. So Skydance is 30.
They're just going to cash.
Netflix's offer, Netflix is keeping their offer at $27.75 and just going to cash.
Right.
So it's still, I think it's good news for Netflix that they didn't have to raise it to get this done.
They're doing fine there. They don't have to give up their shares. We'll see, man. $89 for Netflix. We'll see what happens tonight on earnings. But all right, yeah, sure. Throw up the super chat if you want.
D. Jones.
$5. All right, SCOTUS, like
SCOTUS.
Like POTUS there. For Trump with limits, metals and Reese become weapons in this trade war. Metals and Reese. What does Reese mean?
I'm not sure what.
Are these stocks? NAK, lotto ticket, go pack, go. That's right. All right, so so some things in there that I'm not fully understanding. Northern Dynasty minerals, that's the one thing when you're talking about NAK. Maybe this is a stock that starts to go again. Northern Dynasty Minerals, we want to thank you for the super chat on this one. I don't know, I mean, again, do your own due diligence and everything like that, but I do think that some of these mineral names will start to kick again, right? We saw CRML, that's up pretty nicely here today. Again, the news on CRML, we're going to get to all of this, but gapping up after President Trump warned of escalating tariffs. There you go. Select European countries such as Greenland. So this just keeps on, shooting this stock to the moon here. 20% of this stock is float is short. And we did have LAC was another name, Lithium of America. I think this name could go as well. At some point, down 3% today. So there's a few things. MP, like all of these are very situational trades, so we'll have to look at MP metals today. It's funny because CRML is going,
rare
some of these
earth
other ones
elements.
not. Yeah, rare earth.
I think you'd usually do it with like a lowercase s. So it'd be like REEZ. I don't know. I think that's what threw it. So like REE lowercase s. But no, you're right about that. The critical metals has got to be on watch today. For sure. Just make sure, all of these plays, when you're trading these as day trades, you're usually looking continuation of momentum, how does the chart look, a lot of things like that. But when you're starting to think about, okay, well, if you're investing in this and you think it's going to be a big game changer, you want to have a better understanding, sort of what they do, where they are in production. I think one of the cool things when we have Raheem on, and he'll be stopping by this week, I believe. Potentially even tomorrow, because tomorrow's Wednesday, potentially tomorrow, is he'll get into the nuts and bolts of sort of where certain companies sit and where can they take advantage of this, like how far are they out from ramping up any kind of production or yield. So CRML to me is it's going to be a momentum play today, and we'll definitely talk about this one, but just make sure you understand for sure that just because it fits a theme doesn't necessarily mean that fundamentally, the stock is going to be worth what it is. We saw that with Quantum. I think you're going to see that with a few of these critical metal plays as well, but they're fun to trade, no doubt. Yeah, and I good talk to you about the Supreme Court, because if they do side with Trump, then a stock like a Walmart, we got a little bit of a fake bump there because of the imbalance that was adding these guys to the Nasdaq 100 on Friday. So there's a huge volume spike there
for Walmart, which was still holding out highs, right? So Walmart looks like it wants to kick as well. So if they rule in favor of the Trump government, we could look at some of the retail names like a Target, like a Walmart, and then the name that's really been rocking as of late to the upside, of course, is Costco. Like they hit that bottom around 820 or so, or what was that, whatever that was, they're 850 and now up to 960. So Costco, Walmart, a lot of these stocks still doing okay today. We'll see if they can hold out. Target's a little low. It was 111 was the high. So it looks like a lot of the tech names are the ones that are getting hit here today, as well as IBIT and Ethereum. Man, the crypto names just keep getting worse here as we open up. Like if this market really falls out here on the Nasdaq, I'm a little concerned that IBIT just really hits the floor here at some point. Not well traded over the weekend, down to 90,000. We really bounced off that 97 or so right into the end of this tail, and we'll see if we can get into 50 today, 49.50 or so. But yeah, happy trading, everybody. If you went into the weekend short, you're pretty happy. The only name that's really very extremely aggressive, there's the rare earth, critical metals names, as well as SLV and gold.
Silver is insane.
You know, some of these names. Just funny, because like you thought with gold so high up, potentially gold would have been chasing Bitcoin. Bitcoin's one way, gold and silver the other way today. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting how to pick what to trade. I'm looking to short the Nasdaq. I think is going to be a big one there. All right, let's go back over to the desk. We'll get some ideas here. It's 8:30, so we're live now every day at 8 a.m. So make sure you do join us. You can hear us blab on for about a half hour, where we get to now start going over some of our watch lists soon, and go over some of the notes. And you guys put it in the chat. Anything you guys want us to look at. Some of those
Key
super
names.
chats are great. Key names, key ideas, anything like that.
All right, a report on NVIDIA I was just reading here, coming out of China, more delays, it looks like, as far as H200s going into China. There was an analyst essentially with an opinion saying there's clearly more to the gatekeeping that's going on than just the US saying, yes, go ahead, sell H200s into China. And it seems, according to this, the delay is mostly on the China side of things now. So NVIDIA is starting to roll back over a little bit, trying to hold 182, but down significantly along with most of the rest of the semis here.
Yeah, nothing we didn't really know from last week, Brendo. This has kind of been the ongoing on-again, off-again issue. The U.S. regulator allows H200 exports. A Chinese regulator kind of said, maybe not so quick. We know that the regulator was speaking directly with customs officials last week, all but telling them the H200 is not allowed in the country, albeit with very, very minor exceptions. Those exceptions happen to be, you know, more like research when it comes to educational institutions, nothing government. They're really dissuading their big tech giants from using these, despite the fact that we got information from NVIDIA that they had received over 2 million H200 orders, which they probably can't fill. Brendo, their capacity at the moment, I believe, is 700,000 a year. Taiwan Semi doesn't have all their fabs ready to go in Arizona, so you know that they won't be able to increase capacity without canceling something else. What and whose products they cancel would be kind of, I don't know, your guess is as good as mine, but this is one of those ones where it remains convoluted because the regulator is kind of causing anomalies, not the market dynamics. Exactly. The market dynamics are very, very clear here. The Chinese want them.
Yeah, and tons of demand. They just can't get them through the gate. The economic calendar, if you missed it this morning, just one real number this morning, wasn't really a market mover, but 8K versus 11.75 on the ADP employment weekly change. The only thing to be aware of this week, there's actually two. Thursday, we'll get a quarterly GDP print, and we'll also get PCE on Thursday morning, and then Friday morning, Michigan consumer sentiment. So Thursday morning, guys, coming up at 8:30, mark that down, GDP again, and then PCE 10 for the October and November period. So it'll be one of those double ups on some data on Thursday morning.
Yeah, it's, I mean, relatively quiet when it comes to that data, at least today, and like you said there, Brennan, but you know, that doesn't mean we won't have anything. So the tape just started picking up here. I happen to have NVIDIA up as it was breaking down through 182, as you guys were just sort of talking about demand. But yeah, starting to accelerate. I mean, it's not a crazy move to the downside, but there was just a little bit of tape acceleration as it got through $182. So you're getting down to 2.5%. The bad news for NVIDIA before any of this is the stock just it couldn't go anywhere. What we've been seeing, at least recently, in the chip space in particular, is even when we have strength, it's not here. It's typically been in the memory names. It's really been more Micron, SanDisk, and even when we get going elsewhere, AMD and Intel just seem to be moving a little bit better to the upside when they do. And this is not, it's not like it's particularly close. Like if you look at last week, bouncing off of $200 on AMD, I mean, you almost tagged $240. Right? And the range down here has been typically a 15 to 20% range, top to bottom, if you look from November to now. At the same time, with all of this uncertainty for NVIDIA, it's barely moving. So I think the way in which, if you're trading NVIDIA, the way you try to engage it has to be entirely different. Like you're looking for inside days. With AMD or Intel, you're looking for breakouts and massive mean reversions and all that stuff that's maybe more fun, or like day-long trends. With NVIDIA, you're just looking for it to have an inside move, and then once you sort of establish it, just play inside there. So with the notion that we're looking a little bit weak, like look at these sessions. Almost all the time, your best bet is to just look to pick a spot. If it bounces there, play it. If it doesn't, don't trade the stock. You'll play it, like I think 184 would be the logical level, just because that was a prior support. I think turning that into resistance makes sense for NVIDIA. But this is not your super exciting, let's go ham, we're gonna see 5-10% days type of stock anymore. It's just not the case. So you wanna be looking at the AMDs, you wanna be looking at the Microns, you wanna be looking at the Intels instead, if you're looking for activity on trades. Like just to juxtapose that, why look at Intel every single day? I mean, Intel rejected $50 and went 6%, a 6% move. NVIDIA's not giving you a 6% move. It might gap it with the market, but we're not. If we get another 4% from here, that's NVIDIA moving $7. I don't see that happening. I could see Intel easily doing that kind of a thing. So this is why you trade something else. And this is a stock I'm looking at with a bit of a head and shoulders here. I don't care if they got an upgrade. And ultimately, it's failed 50 twice with a big down move. It looks like it's a bit on the other side of this. So it's this prior support in here into this little resistance on Friday that I'm interested in for a curl on Intel. Just got to trade where the movers are, and it's not NVIDIA.
Yeah, I have on that front, I'm just making this sticky note right now, but I have AMD written down there for a short as well. Like if this can break through 230, fine, but I'm going to play that move right here in case we do get a pop-up. And the reason why I'm choosing AMD, and I just wrote it down, it had such a great week. So it's primed for a little bit of a pullback anyways. Obviously the market with this move down, only down 2% now. I don't think this is like worth, worrying too much about. It's just, it's had such a great run from 200 up to 230. I think it's time to slow down a little bit. So I'm gonna be looking short here on advanced micro devices. Nothing about the stock, nothing really about the company, just trying to, figure out that if we do have some downward momentum here in the market, you can see right now, this name probably off open falls and gets hit quite nicely, but if it doesn't, we'll fade that pop. And if it does get hit, then let's let it go down, maybe retrace back to VWAP and then hit this short again here on advanced micro devices. So this would be a name for sure for me to look at, down 2.3%, still going lower. Good opportunity. I mean, a pick that I've been making here, Marvell breaks through $80. A lot of these names now down 2+% today, as well as Broadcom. Another great name. You're going to get an opportunity today to buy a lot of the dips in all of these chip names. I don't know if it's going to be a buy the dip opportunity. I would still I give everything like 2 or 3 days, right? But we've seen these moves again, and Micron continues to hold strength. So if you're going to look at somewhere that might be strong here today, Micron only down 0.6 when a lot of these other names are falling. So if we do get a rebound in the market, maybe Micron could be up for a move higher. But yeah, that's a little bit of a look there for my chip names. I'm just going to work on this note and get it out. But Dave's trade of the week, you can put that up right here. Trade of the week, most successful names you traded in a high volatility. Clement, you'll be good. Thank you, Martin Luther King Jr. Okay, so throw a dart. Okay. All right, yeah, I think that's probably right. Pick any of the volatile names. The only problem is you got to figure out long or short. So once you, I think there's going to be a lot of names to throw darts at. Which way? I think.
Well, the other thing, you don't always have to. Like you can have a price level in mind on the set name, And then if it's behaving, if you have a support level, if it's looking like a good long, it's maybe you're getting some kind of a bounce or bottom tail. Just be where a movement is, I think, is what Dave is talking about. And just noticed, of course, it capitalized the tool we have there. It capitalizes everything, which is why the person it was REE with the lower KS on the other one.
Right,
it's
right,
just
right,
that for
right.
some reason, it is what it is. It's a fantastic tool we have there, but just note. Everything gets capitalized when we put it on the screen if you put it in your notes, so therefore some nuances can get missed every now and then. But I do really like that sentiment. But just remember, almost every time we've had some kind of a tariff headline or a shock or 1.5%, 2%, maybe more than that, based on tariffs, we know volatility at 930 is already a bit of a thing. Just understand that the first move oftentimes has been like a spike up. So like if you're sitting there and you like some fades, it's going to acquire a little bit of patience. I'm using this as an example because I happened to be on SNDK at the time. Like oftentimes, regardless of what's going to happen, like the first move has been a sharp spike into the upside. So I think if you're looking short, I think it requires some patience for sure today. But I think that's absolutely fantastic advice. Like and that's why I was sort of saying about NVIDIA. Like if NVIDIA's been great for you recently and all this volatility, fantastic. But like this individually has not been a volatile stock. There's been a few days here or there, but when it's moving, like when there's movement, AMD has just been like spectacularly better. Intel has just been spectacularly better. Micron has been spectacularly better in terms of how much movement you're actually going to get. So it just comes down to, making sure that you have a plan in mind. You have an out, understand that with more volatility, obviously becomes more risk. And I would suspect you get a little more slippage at the open as well in a morning like today. So when you have a stop, you might get slipped an extra 10, 20 cents depending on the stock, and you should anticipate that kind of a thing. It should be a lot of fun. As always, volatility is great for trading. You just have to understand that it's a double-edged sword.
All right, there's a note from Morgan Stanley on IT services specifically, some of the hardware names downside this morning, essentially saying that this could be the weakest non-COVID reading in 15 years on enterprise hardware outputs, budgetary outputs specifically, as everyone continues to shift towards the cloud and shift towards the AI concept. So I was just going through a list of some of these. I mean, these are not necessarily names that we'll pull up and look at quite frequently, but a lot of them are in ETFs. A lot of them could be in investment portfolios, so worth keeping an eye on. I mean, Dell downside here this morning in a pretty good way. HP looking very similar, not a lot of volume. HPE looking very similar, again, not a lot of volume. NetApp, NTAP is another one of these. Getting hit here this morning, back through $100 on the wrong side. Logitech, one that can give you kind of wild moves if it wants to. Downside again, back around that $90. CDW was the other one that I saw on this list, also getting hit. So again, it's one of those days where there's so many different storylines and so many different things to understand and kind of keep in context. But hardware names are going to be coming up here in the next couple of weeks as far as earnings are concerned. I think this actually might be something that we see on the back end of forecasts and sales projections from them.
Definitely, especially when it comes to corporate spending. We always get good guides with the earnings report on that, Brendo. But yeah, as you mentioned, Morgan Stanley, that is, downgrading its view on the entire sector, the whole industry. They were flagging a sharp slowdown in what they're calling enterprise hardware spending. That peaked in COVID. There's other reasons as well. We're not going to go into all of them, but basically they're saying that resellers expect about a 30 to 60% of customers to reduce their PC, server, and storage spending due to price increases tied to component inflation. Obi and I were talking about this on the midday show last week. The prohibitive increase in the price of RAM. Anybody who's looking at upgrading their computer, just from you want to upgrade one 32 gigabyte piece or 64 gigabyte piece, you're probably paying double what you would have paid 6 months ago because, well, all the hyperscalers are buying these hand over fist. They're leaving very little for the rest of us.
Yeah, I think more and more you're hearing conversations, even around here, we're having conversations about, is it possible to even replace, physical hardware, PCs, desktop PC type situations with a mobile situation, with a laptop, where someone can, be working remote, be working, plug into a desk wherever they need to. I have a side story, but I have a friend who does enterprise sales for Apple, and some of his biggest customers are the big banks here in Toronto, to a point where now when they're hiring anyone, any new staff that comes into a TD or a Scotiabank or Royal Bank,
right,
they're actually offering them day one a Windows-based laptop or a Apple-based laptop instead of, and they entirely get rid of, enterprise level desktop type hardware. So that storyline, I think, is just only beginning as far as that transition is concerned. Man, silver's going again here, but Microsoft day lows too right now, guys, for MSFT.
It is, but if we could just go back to Dell for a quick little second, because I think Dell, if you consider them as maybe miscalculating where demand was going to be, this is a stock that, hey, we have a key for it, so yikes. 115 goes on Dell this week, and I don't know, look out below. There's really not much. Go all the way back to November, and then we already bounced once this year off 115. You're within a stone's throw today, so we'll see if the market can take it through. But this is a level worth watching for Dell. You don't want stocks to go down, but you break a support level like this, I think you can get at least. I'm not saying it would do what it did at the highs when it triple topped. When triple topped, you had a pretty clean drop of like 20-something%, just over 20%. You lose that 115, I think you're at least going to have a bit of a jaunt to the downside. So you got to have this one. I think this one's on watch for a flat bottom break this week, unfortunately for them.
Yeah, I think that's about right with sort of the cloud computing right now and the use of some of these chips and RAM and all that kind of stuff. We talked about how Micron's had such a huge run up there. You've seen, SNDK, SanDisk as well, making huge moves recently. Is this all going to fall on its face or what? Like, they still continue to be relatively hot. I mean, even in a negative market, these PC, chip makers, PC parts, things like that continue to climb higher. And I think that although, playing the Roblox, you don't require huge amounts of hardware to play a lot of these games. I mean, a lot of it can be done on your iPhones or your iPads. And as Brendan mentioned there, a lot of switching over. You mentioned the MacBook or a Windows-based laptop, things like that. Like, this is where we're going right now. There's a lot of work from home. So the PC market might be worse. And that's where Intel was this whole game of chips, right? And they were supposed to be into those PCs. So if that's sort of, starting to, I don't want to say it's taking the place of actual desktops. I mean, there are going to be use for desktops, a little more powerful and whatnot. But I know in our household, my son has a PC, but that's mainly on the gaming side of it. My daughter, he has a laptop as well. So it's just a matter of catching the right age, the right person, and then enterprise, I think, is huge, because a lot of the consumers right now are moving over to the MacBooks, and it's just so easy to carry these things now. They're super light, and we always said that you never need to know math because you always would have a computer in your pocket and a calculator. Now you have those things, and they're so super powerful now with your laptop/cell phone combination. Apple down 1.36% right now. This is going to be a name that I was saying you sell, and maybe this was sort of a little bit of a look into what we're going to experience over the next couple weeks and days, months potentially. That this is a downside play in Apple, and it really hasn't caught a bid for a very, very long time. So like Apple right back into there, that's November 20th. So you're now today on January 20th. That was the last time Apple had some good feels about it. Obviously, it being down 1.3% is not a great opportunity here. But you're coming into, again, come on, chart, right into this area of 240, 245. I think there could be some dip buy opportunities into that for an Apple. And then, SMCI, we'd seen that last week, hit that $28 or $29 mark and then had a really nice bump up. And we caught a huge bid up there on Friday. Maybe this name is one that is primed for a move down now off of a real aggressive higher high put in there over the month of December. It looks like trying to take that out of 36. That's kind of where we need to get before we really got excited about that. So for me, this would still be a fade underneath this $33 mark there for SMCI as well. So lots lots of good stories. And then if you're going to go back to the pure play, you know, IBM, I mean, I know they have Lenovo and there's been some good, you know, little laptops there that IBM's been involved with. But this is, again, another sort of pure play on maybe the boxes and the physical computers. I really do like IBM and the fact of them having an AI aspect to them and a quantum play. I mean, IBM has been doing nothing as well, basically back to early November, late October, where we finally started to break out and kind of just barcoding a little bit. IBM's an interesting name with a dividend. So if you were trying to maybe hide out in some tech plays, potentially IBM isn't a horrible place to be. But on my note, man, I'm short. I have the Nasdaq short, I have Tesla short, I have IBIT short, and I have AMD short. So today I feel like no matter how we talk, a little bit short we're going to try to get, which means my first position will probably be long.
The only, I mean, I don't know. I'm looking at silver today, but I'm looking for like a trend break like you did on Friday. But that would be a long potential setup off some prior highs. But no, I actually do like the IBM play for sure.
Yeah,
I got a
like the dividend.
I can't not say this. We got like Western omelets.
Yeah, I
today.
saw them there. I didn't grab one, but
I don't know how else to describe this.
What is it?
It tastes soggy. And I don't know.
Oh, probably because when it comes with the tin foil.
So it's like the condensation or something. It's a very.
Because we got them late, so maybe they were just sitting around for a minute.
And I like a Western omelet.
Yeah.
Whatever, silly. It still tastes pretty good, but
Okay.
Kind of a weird.
But wet, okay. I don't.
Yeah, kind of weird.
That does not sound.
We do have Besant making some comments as we go on today. So I do suspect we're going to be keeping our ear to the ground. The thing about Davos, which is always a big event, is you tend to get a lot of headlines. Like it's like headline and comment overload. Like there'll be a ton of interesting interviews, and you'll have obviously some pretty big hitters that will be constantly dropping some quotes and anecdotes, which could potentially move individual names or markets, which I think could be a bit of a big deal. But no, I do like this IBM play. And if you like 50-period moving averages, I keep thinking these things will dip even further. This one's consolidating off the prior high, I feel like, which is pretty good technical setup as well. And it's pretty safe, like you said, because of the dividend there.
Yeah, I like it because of the dividend. But before we move on, guys, I want everyone to make sure they check out PDS Biotechnology over there on the Nasdaq, PDSB. They're transforming how the immune system targets and fights cancer with initial focus on HPV-16 positive head and neck cancer. HPV-16 can cause head and neck cancer, and more people are facing these high-risk cancers than ever before. HPV-16 positive head and neck cancers are projected to become the most common type of head and neck cancer in the United States in just a few years. Please learn more at pdsbiotech.com. We want to thank them for their sponsorship. Go check them out, PDSB over there on the Nasdaq. 852 over there, guys. You like that talk about IBM and possible dividend? Well, they have a dividend, but a possible place to maybe hide out here in case you want to catch some yield?
Yeah, I mean, I think from an AI standpoint, it's certainly an option. The storyline remains to be seen as far as how long this is going to actually take to play out, I think. But one option, definitely. Just on Davos, guys, coming up tomorrow, I just looked it up. Trump speaking between 8:15 and 9:30. So it could be a eventful pre-market, to say the least, tomorrow again. Whether or not that actually goes off on time, more and more lately, it seems that his appointments are not on time.
You got to make you wait. But he spoke today in the lead up to that. Of course, I believe he did have a conversation with the Secretary General of NATO, and the Secretary General of NATO is trying to organize sort of a multilateral dialogue between the leaders of some of the European countries that President Trump has threatened tariffs on if they don't support the Greenland acquisition. So hopefully by the time he makes it onto the stage or wherever he's giving that speech, that maybe some of the tensions will have gone down. I'm not trying to draw exact parallels to the Maduro acquisition, let's call it that. But we did start off markedly red on that day, and the markets did bounce back. I think this is a little bit different, though, because now we're talking about tariffs and changing of balance sheets. But this should be a very, very eventful week, to say the least, Brendo.
Whether or not this is a negotiation tactic, as we've seen in the past, where we've seen him lead with a hammer and then you know end up at something that is much, much less than what it started off as, and sounding a little bit more gentle.
It reminds me of my old man in one very specific way. This was one of the more embarrassing kind of events, or recurring events, let's go with that, in my childhood. Go shopping with my old man for cars. And then he'd always embarrass the hell out of me, right? He'd sit there with the salesman. The salesman's asking, I don't know, let's just throw any number out there, 35,000. My dad would offer, you know, 15 or 17,500. Just, I want the ground to swallow me. Just get the hell out of here. I mean, you're asking for less than 50% of this guy, what this guy wants. President Trump kind of employs a similar strategy. You know, if he's going in, he wants something for 100 million, he's going to tell you 25 million, and, you know, aggravate you and then get everybody else talking about it, and that's just kind of how he operates. Let's see how this all ends up.
And you know, there's been many people reiterating the simple fact that this is not new. The U.S. has been interested in acquiring Greenland for decades. In fact, I was reading a story last week, at the end of last week, that was essentially tying the Alaska timeline to Greenland, and they were trying to do the same thing with Alaska and Greenland at the same time. Didn't work out with Greenland. So
apparently this has been going on for 100 years.
Yeah.
President Taft, President Eisenhower, I think Truman, and I'm not sure if FDR, but a lot of them have tried to acquire Greenland. Most were rebuffed, or they were given something different, like, for example, military rights, like we've seen. But this has been an ongoing issue for over 100 years.
Whether or not we get a resolution this time around remains to be seen. But back to crypto, just real quick. The weekly Tom Lee BMNR update just popped up in front of me here. It was essentially 1 million. They acquired 1 million ETH in the last 7 days here. BMNR down with obviously Bitcoin and Ethereum as well. But I mean, he's acquiring at a far higher pace than strategy is right now with Bitcoin.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what his approach is here. I'm a very small shareholder in this. I'm well out of the money, to make that very clear. I haven't added to the position. I'm in a wait and see mode because the chart really dictates wait and see here. You're not really seeing anything appetizing the chart to say, hey, get in a little bit more. So I'm going to continue to hold and wait and see. Yeah,
we're just kind of chopping around back to, I mean, it's a decent support level. 31 coming into play here, guys, for BMNR once again.
Than that, but you know, I was just kind of curious, Sharif. Like, how'd your pops do in those negotiations, man? Like, sometimes it just kind of works. It just kind of works.
It was never similar. That bad, Neil. That the finality of it was never that bad. It was always working to the end, where I was just, you know, red-faced and embarrassed. Or like, I wish, you know, we could just get to the end a lot quicker.
I feel you on that one. There's a saying I'm from West Indian family. There's a saying that West Indian children don't embarrass their parents. West Indian parents will embarrass their children. But that's more to do with like a discipline thing. They're like, no, you think you can cause a scene? That's not the way that it's going to play out. But no, I think it's a fun story. I think negotiation is a big deal. But I think one of the things to keep in mind, and one of the reasons the bond market had been moving around a little bit, obviously, for this turmoil, is the U.S. government, if they were to buy, then it's going to cost hundreds of billions of dollars, and you know it's going to come from somewhere, right? So it's going to be more boring and that kind of a thing. So one way or another, this is going to cost, and whichever path you take, this is certainly going to cost hundreds of billions of dollars, and you got to be able to consider that. Adam James abroad with the super chat, CRVS service, can we halt? Well, not until 9:30, unless there's no halts in the pre-market, so we'll get that one out of the way. I mean, obviously it can. It's certainly possible that it could halt the volume profile, in addition to how much the stock is going to be up, being a $12 stock. It has the potential to do it. Ultimately, I don't know. We do know that it can't happen until after the market gets open. That's for sure. But you have a lot going with this in terms of it's making higher lows. Ignore some of these crazy dark pool wicks. Here, sometimes it's just, I'll just cut a line through to show you. If you ignore the dark pool wicks, really all of these closes inside here were in about 1150 range. You've been holding a nice upward trend on CRVS. So you want to be able to see if it can hold on to this. But certainly a halt possibility just can't happen until the open there. As Randy is in the building, you got the toque on indoors. See, sometimes you come into the office and it's like the t-shirt when I think it's too cold, and today you got the toque, which I think is more fitting. It is
cold in here. Yeah.
Ugh, no.
It's funny you guys talk about that stuff with your parents. That's actually what I do right now. So I actually go into all these places and offer those exact prices, Sharif. Like, maybe not that dramatic. You know, my kids right now. It's funny because Baron, we were in the car the other day, and I said I never have cash on me. I forget what it came up to. And he's like, no, Dad, you have cash on you when you're trying to negotiate stuff. Because I'm always like, well, you take cash? So I always say that kind of stuff. And my new thing is I ask people if they'll take Bitcoin, you know? So that's like another thing to see if we get a little bit of a reduced price rate there. But yeah, I'm the exact same way right now. I think that, again, probably is to do with the Italian heritage coming through, always trying to offer cash or cement shoes. You know, there's always a couple of different options the guy you're dealing with can choose, right? So, yeah, good movement there. We talked about Ethereum and, you know, going in there and start stepping in and trying to buy some ETH, but ETHA has been getting hit like pretty aggressively to the downside as of late. I mean, we always look up, I had the VIX up here right now, still extending a little bit today, obviously, as we talked. That was 19 last look, now $20.30. Here is Ethereum, so you can check out Ethereum on Ethereum. I just want the, here we go. Let's go to Coinbase. I wanted spot right there. So, you know, similarly to BTC, except for this one came up to a key level and didn't even break it, came up to 5,000, came pretty close, and then all the way to the downside. So if you bounce off 5,000 and make this way back in right here, you're just now looking to, and again, you know, like we looked at Bitcoin around that 85 to 83,000 or so. This Ethereum is probably something similar around this 28. I haven't looked at it as much as Bitcoin, obviously, as you guys watch the show, we talked about BTC a heck of a lot more. But right into here, $2,800 to me looks like a decent area. So, you know, you're at 31 or so right now and looking to get a little bit lower. Not a great weekend, obviously, here for Ethereum. But yeah, I would say this is getting close. I mean, if you wanted to follow Tom Lee, I mean, there is something to be said, you know, about what he's been doing, picking up some 50 minutes, not big enough. Let's go to 30 minutes here. Yeah, so last week, maybe last month, you're coming into some potential support even earlier than that 2,800. So that's 3,000. So yeah, Ethereum, nice move down. I'm not huge into this because we had some of those bills get passed there and people talking about stable coins. You know, looking at a stock like USDC, which is Circle, you know, this one, Circle Internet Group, has been getting hit pretty aggressively over the last little while as well. I mean, I guess it's been pretty calm actually for the last month, but huge move down, right? This was 140 down here into 80. This is one of Obi's short picks. So USDC stablecoins also getting hit to the downside. Now, I'm just not sure of where the use for a lot of these cases are. Like, I know Ethereum, you know, there is cases for them, obviously, as we talk about smart contracts, but they haven't changed anything in my life yet. And I'm hoping that eventually Ethereum does have these great use cases. But for me right now, I think it's a wait and see, and you're just trading it as very much a risk on asset. So today it looks like it's going to be risk off. So we'll look to see if some of these continue to get hit as maybe the Nasdaq settled down a little bit. It hasn't been super, here, I'm just going to show you, Andre, it hasn't been super violent here this morning, you know, move up, move back in, now sort of in the middle again. So we'll see if we take it out, man. We're about a half hour away. We're going to start getting into some individual stocks now with our watch list, but the Nasdaq seems to be trying to find a little bit of a base here and get it going. So we'll see if we can hold this 25,000. I mean, it's been a while since we've talked about 25,000. That low is 25.1 right there. So we'll see if we can bounce off of 25,000 clean. But yeah, the sticky note is out, unless I didn't push it yet. I'll go over, I'll get that link in the chat right now. Thank you guys for asking, but it'll be out very soon. Circle Internet Group down another 4%. All right, Sharif, a little bit of a take on the market maybe if we go back to you, and then we'll start running through the rundown. Let's go back over to the desk.
All right, guys, let's have a look at where we closed on the SPY on Friday. We got to 690.170. We continued to put in those lower highs, and we closed towards the lows. We are markedly below that this morning, here to start trading at 681, so almost $10 lower than where we closed out on Friday, 1.5% in the negative here on the SPY, and we've lost a lot of key levels, boys. We've lost that key area of support that we had on the first trading day of the year, the 2nd of of January. That was 681 1/3. So that's going to be the main area that we're looking to hold there. We're going to say 680, Brendo, as our first level of support. If we can hold that, our first level of resistance is going to be that 685 to 687 area bottom that we put in back on the 14th. That's going to be resistance level number one.
Overall, it could be a lot worse to start the week. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you grab that absolutely free. Down below in the description, you'll find the link, top link, in fact, will get you to the sign up page for the watch list. Has everything you need to know on it. Every single morning in the pre-market comes right to your inbox. If you haven't done so yet, grab that. Let's talk about some of these metals, because as we get into the thick of things with Davos, again, if you missed it or just joining a little bit late, Trump will speak at Davos tomorrow morning between 8:15 and 8:30, or sorry, 8:15 and 9:30 our time, so Eastern time, which will obviously move the market, or has the potential to move the market. We're seeing this risk-off trade once again right across the board to start the new week. However, with metals to the upside, equities downside, it's worth noting yields to the upside as well. The long end, the 10 and the 30 back higher once again, which typically means the dollar's gaining strength, but not the case today.
Not the case, which is a bit an eye-opening divergence, Brendo. Good point there. The metals, they continue to be strong. They haven't really broken through some of the key levels, but gold and silver did extend their rally Tuesday morning. As we've talked about this, the geopolitical tensions as well as the trade uncertainty pushed investors deeper into these safe haven assets. Crypto was not one of them. Silver climbed about quite nicely this morning. Actually, let's just double check where it's at right now. Silver is up 6 3/4. Gold is up 3 1/3. So the strength there looks quite strong. Silver, though, more tightly linked to the global economic cycle, and rising bond yields as well. As you mentioned, Brendo, an ongoing bond market sell-off could pressure silver if growth fears outweigh that safe haven demand. But the precious metals are also raising the strength of some of the mining names. So you needn't only just look at the spot names or the futures names for gold and silver, but some of the precious metals, like Endeavor Mining was up 2 1/5 this morning, as well as some others. And equity flows are suggesting that people are seeking exposure, not just to the metals and the miners, not just to the miners and the future spot prices, but to the miners as well.
Yeah, so if you want to look at gold miners, for example, GDX, a good one to an ETF, a good one to have a look at. But I mean, the play, guys, from a volatility standpoint has not been gold at all. Lately, it's been silver. Thoughts here for this type of concept? You can go a lot of different directions.
Yeah, I mean, despite the all-time high in gold, and as good as it, and don't get me wrong, there's probably nobody that's unhappy with what gold has been doing if you're long it. So I want to get that out of the way. But from a trading aspect, like silver, 7% again. The last time we had a move like this, well, we've had 2 gaps up this big in the last week of trading, actually trading sessions. And there's one here, and you can see, what do we do at the open? Dip, bounce, dip, rip. And we ended higher. And we had another gap up like this, and at the open, dip, and then essentially you got one dip and rip. And those are the last couple of times that we were gapped this percentage. It was about 7% each of those times, but in and around that range. I'm looking for something similar to happen here. I mean, the prior high is usually a pretty good place to look, just for an outright level. We had a couple of closes last week around that 84 level, so it's about $84, where if you get down to there, I'm just thinking long implicitly, but the other play is on the 15-minute, each of these, heavy down candle, and then there's a reversal, there's a trend break here on this day. You also had that on Thursday. You see these on the 15-minute. Once you get that trend down green 15-minute candle, want to go for the dip buy long. So I'm thinking that in silver, and just being patient with it. I don't even think I traded. I was looking short on silver on Friday, and I think I might have traded it here and then maybe retesting that resistance at 81. So that kind of patience will be required to play it, but it's worth it if you catch the right move on silver. So that dip and rip is what I'm looking for. The pattern has been pretty good with that.
Yeah, I think, you want to play strength today, and I mean, it makes sense to why silver and gold would both be up today. So we're excited to see that. The 200 period is at 84.50 there for silver. So any kind of a dip down here, I think it's primed to do a little bit of something there, and then GLD as well, upside, right? And you heard last week about BlackRock and all these guys that just have all this money piled into this whole market, both fixed incomes, both in equity markets, both in precious metals. So this has just been quite the huge move higher here. And as we have more and more global uncertainty, and you can see more so today than Friday, the actual economic trade is starting to make some sense now as people flood to, again, away from US dollar into stuff like precious metals with gold. Copper, again, has been ripping as well. And I like copper actually to potentially hold even some of these highs, even if silver and gold come back in. Copper has a huge use case for EVs, big into the housing rebuild, big into some of these data centers as well. So I really think copper is one that could hold out some of these highs if we do get a fade in the rest. Not moving like a meme stock, like a silver or anything's doing today, but I still really do like copper to come back in and then start to rip again. If you do get any downside pressures in the metals, I would think copper has a very, very great chance of holding out some of the highs. So does gold. I just think silver is just gone and continues to be like that meme stock kind of trade, which means on good news potentially, like if this world settles down a little bit, if Trump pulls back some of this talk about extra tariffs for those that are friendly fire with Greenland, I think silver does come back in a little bit, and we can definitely play the longs there, but I think copper holds out just for that AI and data center play as well. So I like copper the best out of all of these two as well. And then
sticking with metals, Danny's
there we go.
Point here. If you're playing the miners today, silver miners that is, remember, wait for COMEX and LBMA to exhaust themselves, pushing downward before jumping in. That's been the play. It's been more trend reversions than anything else. And also, you like EXK better than HYMC, Hycroft. EXK over Hycroft. Hycroft was they were the
AMC.
Yeah, AMC.
Yeah, they put some money in and they got out, and now it's ripping up to the upside.
Before we go back to the debts, that CRVS with a bit of a turnaround here at $15, the best way to put it. I don't want to say tanking, but pull back here on CRVS. It did just break out, so it gave you a couple of extra dollars since we last mentioned it, and now getting a bit of a dip. Let's see how it holds on to this trend that was going in the pre-market. Now it's going to have to hold about $13. So a couple of small cappers in there if you're looking at the metals, and of course CRVS, which is our biopharma stock of the day. Next on the list, chips. I like ketchup.
Downside once again here this morning. We're expanding the range, in fact, on NVIDIA's chart. If you zoom out a little bit, I mean, this is what, 3-4 weeks of 15-minute data. Continuing to trend to the downside. We're bouncing off 180 this morning. Hasn't really been here since, I mean, you got to go back a couple of months at least. But the point here, we're not seeing that continuation move yet. And now this morning, we're getting more concerns, at least, about the possibility that these H200s going into China, specifically related to NVIDIA, these H200s going into China may be being blocked more so on their end than first thought.
Yeah, and that's what we've been reporting on, I think, Brendo, on this show for the last few months, as we've made it very clear that just because President Trump and the Department of Commerce give the go-ahead to Jensen and company to ship the H200 to China doesn't mean they're going to have a willing participant buyer there. Well, maybe they do, but the regulator not so much. So that's something that headline risk will keep tabs on, but well-established risk nonetheless. Separately today, NVIDIA said that they may unveil a Windows laptop on an ARM notebook later this year. It's not exactly market moving for NVIDIA, a bit of a smaller headline. Danny Ives of Wedbush basically saying that, some of this sell-off has to do more with Greenland, but his theory is the chips are more shielded from that than maybe some of the big tech players like your Amazons, your Apples, your Microsoft, your Googles, who may be subject to, more direct retaliatory tariffs. And then, Brendo, let's just call a spade a spade. The chips were extremely strong last week, mostly because of Taiwan Semi coming out with earnings and kind of, assuaging some of the fears that we had about an AI bubble. They're continuing their capex quite aggressively, and a new trade deal between Taiwan and the United States could be a nice buoy for that as well. So mixed sentiment, a little bit on this, a little bit on that.
Yeah, there's so much going on in Davos this morning. Speaking of Amazon, they, I forget who it was. It was one of the executives of Signal, the messaging app, Signal. Was speaking with Emily Chang on Bloomberg this morning in Davos, and they were talking about them starting to adapt Anthropic mostly into that app and using it a little bit more so. So maybe a positive sign for AI in general, but Anthropic specifically. But anyway, NVIDIA, I was just looking here, it's 175, 180. If you zoom out even further than this, I mean, there's probably room all the way down to here for NVIDIA guys, but specifically for NVIDIA, we're seeing this expansion of the range in this downward trend a little bit more.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, like the range expansion hasn't been enough to make it as exciting a mover as, you know, like all of the memory names, and then for AMD, which we already talked about, and then he talks like Intel. I mean, heck, SMCI was more exciting than this one on Friday, but it's the way it's moving down, I think, that is a bit of the problem, because when you look at some of the best opportunities in the stock, like look at these topping tail candles, like they're all big reversals to the downside, unfortunately. So it's not looking like a long until proven otherwise here with NVIDIA. All that said, is it's hard for me to be bearish and not look where it makes a little bit more sense. We talked about where the movement has been. I just see one of the strongest chip stocks, like it or not, has been Intel recently. Do I think going into their earnings that they need to prove something? I absolutely think it's true here, because the U.S. government putting a stake in, NVIDIA taking a stake in, and some of the positive turnaround talks, some improvements on yield. Like, it's there, but maybe not justifying as far as it's moved. All of that said, it double topped at 50 last week. There's 150 fail. The fail at 50 was even more violent on Friday than it was on Thursday. So I just look for another back end kind of day here. So 47.5 to 47.6. That's this level, which is also prior support. I think it's pretty simple. If we cannot break through this, then I'm looking short. And if we break out this top, give it to like the 3/4, I'm willing to reverse into the long. But my first thought is, hey, we failed 50 twice, a little bit of a step down play before we catch a bid.
Yeah, I had it written on here just AMD, and the reason why I chose AMD over the rest. 230 short, we had a huge move last week. I think it looks like it wants to head back to 220 and just fade any pops is what I'd written down there today. So all my 4 ideas are all based off a short, and it hasn't really done anything all pre-market. So that's a little bit interesting to me, thinking that, you know, we came in and, you know, like Brendan said, I listened to Bloomberg on the way in as well, on the way into work, and, you know, it was pretty negative talk this whole way, talking about, you know, getting into fixed income and just all this Greenland talk and threats from the EU. I just thought, like, some of these chip names here with tariff talk would have been hit a lot more than where it is, but excuse me, just chugged some water there. AMD has had such a great move over the last 4 or 5 days that I just think it's prime to make a move back. Like, I don't really see it ripping through 230 today. And so that's my sort of short area there in and around this $230. And it's just sort of comes back to where this 50-period moving average is. It was sort of the lows here on Friday. So let's just wait to see if we hold underneath this area. And this is Thursday, so we had quite a nice move down as well there and bounced in and around this 228, only to get back to 230 and then wind up breaking now back below that. So I'm going to use this as sort of like a little bit of a shelf. If we break higher, then we can get out, but start the short in and around 229 into 230. For this name, I actually think this can really tank right off the open. But the problem is you don't really want to, like, that's $224.50. That's $2. So that would be a decent move right there off the open to come back into this spot. And then you want to see what winds up happening. So if you think that's going to happen, then this is a good break, 226. So watch out for a quick little trade right off the open. The only thing is, some of these trades right off the open have been kind of like take a minute or two to settle out. So I don't think it's wise to put like a fair amount of shares right there in one of these names straight off the jump. Let the market settle down. I think we'll look back and I'll be like, woe is me, why didn't we do that? But at the end of the day, I think that's the right risk measure today. And then just to go light early, I think you can go heavy late once you figure out the levels. But Broadcom's another one of those names where If you don't have any Broadcom shares, I think you want to wait for this to come back in as well, just like NVIDIA. A lot of us are invested in NVIDIA, but Broadcom's coming into this 300 level, which is sort of that gap fill. So we'll see if it comes in, holds that 200 period moving average. But any of the chip names, I think Broadcom, I've already spoken about Marvell, but I like Broadcom and Marvell if they can drop into some of these levels. So this is where I'm going to look for some dips, and because I don't own one Broadcom share outside of the indexes. So we'll wait to see what happens with Broadcom. My eyes are there. Although I've said I don't want to buy any more AI names, but this would be one that would get me interested in as well. And then I don't know if we're going to talk about Netflix, or we are later on. I was going to say that's the sort of something that could be interesting tonight. Look to trade that tomorrow. But okay, crypto sliding today. Yeah, I don't know, man. Bitcoin's trying to hold out for 90,000. Let's go hit the story, and then we'll talk about BTC and Ethereum.
All right, crypto downside as well. Yeah, I mean, we're seeing a little bit of a departure once again from the quote unquote risk off trade involving Bitcoin and involving some of these cryptos back to, I mean, 2 week ago levels here for IBIT 51 was that sticking point that was initially resistance, came back in as support. So maybe we got a test of 51 here again.
The actual point itself barely holding 90,000 right now, guys. So very much at the lower.
You're muted. You're muted.
Very much at the lower end of the sport. I was talking about Bitcoin, the coin itself actually down about 9 to 90,000. It really is sliding on geopolitical tensions, as we spoke about in the Greenland issue. Macro backdrop, not crypto specific sell-off fears. Want to stress that. The consolidation range over the weekend was about 92 to 93,000, and at the time of the writing of this article, roughly $100 million in long positions were liquidated in the prior 24 hours. One looks at the price action now on the coin specifically, and you feel that that 100 million may be 200. Also, the crypto fear and greed index slipped into fear, reflecting kind of that waning short-term confidence despite the broader uptrend, which remains intact. And analysts were warning, Brendo, that further escalation in the trade rhetoric could weigh both on equities and crypto. And that key level that analysts or technicians were flagging at 91,824 as a critical area of support for Bitcoin, well, that's come and gone because we're back down into 90.
Yeah, I was even zooming out a little bit further here. There's a tiny gap that was never filled. If you go back, I guess it was a month or so ago, 50 down to 49 on IBIT, and then that 49 level ends up being support after that. So let's see what happens, guys, but definitely a disconnect here for Bitcoin today.
Oh, no doubt. This little jaunt, you can say there's weakness here, but let's be real, it was already happening. If you look at it on a daily on Bitcoin, well, show me where the bullishness has been in the last week. Go right back into that trend line that we were talking about earlier in the show. And if we can find support at 90K, I mean, it's kind of the obvious spot. And I don't know that I'd be looking long anywhere else. That said, when looking at 15 on IBIT, just like Brendan was, I'm eyeballing 52.5. Like the last time we were down in this range, we did end up holding in here, and then it was a breakaway. Like once we broke above 52.5, you broke away for a couple of days. So I look at that as kind of like the pivot price. So short end of 52.5 for me. Sorry, I was trying to hold this.
I think you did pretty good.
Yeah, whatever. Apologies there. No, if we get up to that 52.5, then I'm going to look for the short. And I'm favoring it until we get some kind of a real test at 90,000 there. I haven't paid for locates on BMNR because I think today my focus is specifically at that price on IBIT. But if we're absolutely tanking and we never have a pop at all, then I might have to look elsewhere for like structure of a short. But I'm looking for a pop and fade on IBIT.
Yeah, I mean, look here today. I mean, this is what these here. Maybe I can zoom in just a little bit here, Andre. We can have a quick little look. I mean, Bitcoin right now down. It's not. These numbers aren't horrendous, right? I mean, Ethereum down 4%. It's not going to be the greatest. There's Ripple down 2.8%, breaking through that $2. We could talk about that XXRP. It's now broken. Remember, our key level was going to be $2. Now, I don't know if that really means anything in the cryptoverse. Solana's down in like Solana was just $250 back in October, so that's down to 128. That's choppy in half right there. There's Dogecoin. There's my Cardano. Used to be like in the top 10. Now number 12, getting hit down to 35%, 35 cents as well. So there's a lot of these names that have just been getting hit pretty decently here today. So I still have Broadcom up there, but I was going to say maybe Ethereum. I don't know. Like, the biggest pumper of Ethereum was Tom Lee, and now he's gotten BMNR into Mr. Beast and into all of these different investments. So I'm not sure what sort of use case anymore for BMNR. Obviously, it's a holding there for, we talked about them grabbing 2 more million ETH, but over the last 7 days, obviously you're going to be down on that purchase as well, Tom. So that's not going that great. And then you'll have to wait for some kind of a support of Ethereum smart contracts that, in my opinion right now, and I'm not in the game, obviously, and some of you guys that are out there might know, but smart contracts yet really haven't hit the mainstream as far as I know right now, as we look to see. Obviously there's some stablecoin usage that has been happening out there, and we've seen already, we talked about Circle. I just worry that it's not mainstream enough, so I'm just waiting basically for that one epic flush sort of a day there on Ethereum where you can get that coin maybe in triple digits again. But for right now, Circle just getting absolutely pumped. They're about to take down its IPO price. This is USDC. So they came to market here at $70, ripped all the way to 280. Now you've round tripped completely and looking to take down this $60 again, or $70. So just watch out here. Ethereum, I could see Bitcoin. I mean, there's a lot of talk about Bitcoin. So you're going to look at a stock like Amara or something like that if you're looking at $10 as a very, very key level here for Marathon. Again, another name to potentially look at in the crypto space. And then I said MSTR, you could use some strategy as, again, once again, a way to get levered into crypto. So down 5.5%. MSTR, it's so bad that maybe it's good. And I mean, they did get that bounce off of 150. So watch out for MSTR just smoking in today as well. Man, I thought the market, I was saying to Neil, I thought this market would really crank today to the low side. I guess the fact that it's down 2% is already a decent day, but we can get down 3% here. Like, I'm really surprised that the market's not falling a lot more here today. And I believe Trump is speaking today, right? So when or all day, every day, I don't know, but
for Davos, the amount of talk that we'll hear from the administration during Davos is going to be possibly nonstop.
We could have an intense day in this market if it starts to, the rhetoric starts to heat up and there's no pushing and pulling, just pushing. So let's get ready to see what this market does. In a matter of 4 minutes, man, we're getting ready to rock and roll.
The official speech, guys, for Trump is tomorrow morning, as I said, 8:15 to 9:30. I'm sure he'll jump in whenever there's a camera handy, as he typically does. On his way, or maybe when he arrives, who knows. So yes, absolutely, let's keep an eye out for Trump-related comments. Let's talk about China. We're getting on in time here. Netflix, again, looks like Warner Brothers is going to go with Netflix all cash if we don't get to that. China tech specifically, downside big time overnight. Over in the Asian session, regulators clamping down once again in that country on high-frequency trading, specifically requiring, what was it? I was just reading 80 to 100% margin rates for anyone participating in that high-frequency trading in China. That was volume flows hit 3.9 trillion yuan midweek last week, which was all-time high.
We've seen them do this before where weakness comes in, they restrict short selling for a period. So very interventionist, a little dissimilar to our style. Separately, PDD getting hit big here in the pre-market to the tune of 4.5%. China has brought in its probe, into the company formerly known as Pinduoduo after its employees exchanged blows with Chinese regulators dispatching investigators from various agencies to the company's Shanghai headquarters. This is reported by Bloomberg. As a result of that report, Brando, Citi has added a 30-day downside catalyst watch on PDD, but keeping the buy rating on the shares with the price target of $170. The firm does see further downside in the shares following Bloomberg's report of a deepening investigation by Chinese regulators, something to keep an eye out for.
All right, coming up, remember, after the close tonight, Netflix earnings, we will cover that for you live. Make sure you stick around after 4 o'clock for that. We'll bring it to you, and we'll show you the price action. We'll show you everything you need to know as far as Netflix earnings. On Netflix, I watched that, the RIP on the weekend.
Good.
Ben Affleck and Matt Damon.
I saw he's been making the rounds on the podcast, Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
I wonder why,
It was okay.
No?
It was okay. It was meh.
Kind of like meh?
It was meh.
Right.
But anyways, Netflix earnings day, guys, as well.
It's Netflix earnings day for sure. We just had some imbalances hit. Oh, where'd it go? Oh, okay, it's gone now. Intel had an imbalance of 700,000, but it looks like it quickly has paired off a little bit. Snapchat, 470,000 sell side, NCLH and BBAI, 440,000 to the sell side, UNG, 400,000 to the sell side as well. Big mover, obviously. I don't know why I'm rushing. I feel like it's like 90 seconds left.
Yeah.
Usually when it comes to that, we have some time. Big mover this morning has been silver, up 6.5%. It's slight pullback, but nothing too heavy. We'll see how it wants to behave with prior highs. But I'm looking for what has been dip and go, dip and go. A lot of patience has been required to look for the mean reversion on the dip. But this one, I expect there's going to be a lot of volatility in silver. We know we'll get some in the chips as well. And then that's critical metals, disappointing pre-market. It's been only going sideways. So I feel like this is a stock which is telling you wait 15 minutes on. Let's see what the opening range decides with it, because when you sit down, it was looking like a potential breakout trade, and now way too sideways. So we expect volatility this morning, and Max Bet saying GLD is moving better than SLV. Possibly. I just like the way SLV has been trading intraday better. Like, it's been giving you some bigger moves, especially when you get that trend break. So I'm like, the fact that it's trading weaker gives a chance for that dip and rip, which is what I'm looking for. But GLD, another all-time high for gold, obviously as well. Crazy how the metals have been doing. But we got the countdown is on for the first time, brought to you by AIML Health. That's AIML on the CSE. Want to thank them for sponsoring the opening bell on this Tuesday, where Davos is also going on, and we're open.
All right, we're now open. Yeah, welcome everybody. Look at the market, man. Shooting up right there as we get a little bit of a relief rally happening right now. Like I said, it didn't look that bad to me right off the open. Like, I thought we were going to have a dangerous open, and it looks like almost complete opposite here as we start to rip up. It looks like AMD is saying, okay, we're going upside right now. Look at AMD, man. Straight shoot upside into 230. There we go. I was going to say, I'm looking to get short. So there we go, man. I'm going to go short 230. Well, I am short right now. If this breaks through 50s, we're gone right now. So we're going to put that order in. Nice little trade to start with here. Sorry, I'm on AMD. There's AMD right now. Put out some bids. If we can get something down here in the 30s, we just danced a little bit. We're short right here at 79. So far, trade we're on. We'll see if, did we get hit there? No, it went into the 30s, but I've got it on this sticky note that I'm throwing around right there. If this breaks 230.50, we're gone. We'll give this that 50, 60 cents early. Like I said, pretty light shares to start the day. We could have taken the profit, but it looks like right now we're going to have to suffer through a little bit of a bid here early as I'm short. Well, there it comes right back in as I'm short advanced micro devices, and I dropped my note.
Yeah, same thing. Well, I mean,
That's okay. No, I'm trying to get my sticky note.
Oh,
that's okay. It's all good. It's down there.
It's all good. A very similar thing happened.
Go.
In Intel, we're a bit of a pop and fade. It goes right into. It's not pre-market highs, but it's right before the open. Wow,
Wow, that was violent.
We just topping tail wicked the highs and was back down like 25 pennies, and then you're doing it again here on Intel. So a lot of violence off the open.
AMD is leaving a dollar at each tick.
By the way, Tesla. Whoa. I was going to look up at Tesla, but I was just getting some out at 47.4, but now you're breaking out the top. So you're going to have to wait for another level, potentially the 48 here on Intel, or we just get a topping tail candle on this thing, because now you're blowing to the upside.
Yeah.
All right, now I can go. I got to show you guys Tesla over here. We didn't even talk Tesla. Apologies. Tesla just dropped $5 when everything else I was looking at was breaking higher. Yeah, Tesla looking like it's losing the bid. Silver is also losing the bid, but my plan of action on SLV was to wait for a test of prior highs on a dip. So I'm looking for a trend reversal. So the fact that it's going down makes some sense to me as far as I'm concerned. NVIDIA looking incredibly weak as well. Critical metals doing absolutely nothing, at least off the jump. That stock, oh, no, never mind. It did tank.
Dude, I don't even know what's going on.
Okay, that's wild. It wasn't doing it a minute ago, but critical metals now has filled in the gap. Let's see if it can hold on to prior support. CRML getting smoked.
Is it? This is so wild.
It's almost, CRML could go red in a minute.
I keep taking profit on this AMD, but it's going to take out the top. Like, this is just wild. Like, it's like, oh, I get stopped out. No, there it goes. And then it's $1 in the money. Then it's up to the top. Then it's $1 in the money again. So, like, that was just a wild start there. As AMD, you can see now finally starting to kick down. I'm gonna try another short here. but the market is trying to fade out. I don't know if this is going to be, it's so violent right now that I have to stop out just because that's just how the stock is trading. But it's giving you huge moves. Just don't get caught on the wrong end of this trade. So leisure shares right now for advanced micro devices, but we are starting to go upside pretty darn good right now as we just hold on to a very, very small piece and wait to see if and how it settles down. Gold making that move lower as well. And we had written down there on the note, a top trade was going to be TQs. Then Tesla short is just unfortunately, as Neil said, it already made that move down quite aggressively right now for Tesla, down into 425, 426. But we did write down that top area of 435-ish. It gets as high as 430. Let's see what Tesla wants to do here today. But yeah, AMD, we're light on this, but it looks like it just wants to continue higher. Look at the market, man. Yeah, the
market's
taco.
now blasting.
Yeah, the taco trade there on Trump there. I forget what that. What's that standing for again? Trump always chickens out.
Yes,
that's what it is. I don't know if that's going to be the case this time, but right now, man, the market is definitely feeling like that. Nice move
chickens
higher.
out with, I don't know. There's a lot of angles you could go with that. I tend to think the Greenland thing is serious, but
yeah, same. That's right. I don't think so this time.
No, I mean, I'm wrong about that. No, I think
hopefully we're wrong. I guess.
No, I think it's serious. I think that's why the bond market's like it's going to cost a bunch of money. So let's price that in. $270 billion was what got thrown around. And if you figure it has to be higher than that, you still have to raise a bunch of money. But what is looking weak? So the metals. Well, I'm looking at silver. I know you just followed gold. That's looking weak, but not breaking with the rest of the market is IBIT. So if I liked IBIT short before, I'm going to sort of stick with that plan. If the Nasdaq wants to bounce, there's the Nasdaq bouncing. This is IBIT putting in lower highs. So I'm just going to play with that one, at least for the time being, as it is absolutely Rip City. I got to look over at Alphabet. Like, what was anything that I was didn't put it on the note, but like half interested in the bounce play. One of them was Alphabet, but I was looking way lower, down into the teens.
53s.
But now you're breaking out. If you fill in this entire gap on Alphabet without there being a pullback, I'd be surprised. Look at the last couple of up days. So this one at the open pulled all the way back. This one at the open pulled all the way back before eventually heading to the upside. So I'm going to note that and be pretty patient. But this was on my back burner for potential long. If we do get that dip into 320, maybe that's going to be the level to go. So the only thing that hasn't broken out that I'm watching is crypto, or Bitcoin, I should say. So I'm shorting that one in front of pre-market highs. Everything else is mooning.
Yeah, our patience is starting to pay off a little bit here with AMD as we did catch a little bit of a top there for advanced micro devices. But make sure you guys do continue to do this. We do have our, so CRVS, obviously we should be over there. That's up 72%. We did talk about that a little bit in the pre-market as well. IBRX up 6%, up to $6, up 19%. Here's Intel right here. We just talked about that. That's $48. We were short that earlier. Netflix with earnings tonight up to $89. Tesla's down right there, $427 right now for Tesla. Walmart's starting to go as well. Wow, Walmart nicely cooking there, up 1%, so that's a nice one. And silver still up 5%, so we'll have to wait for that as well. But and then Micron, wow, we said like what's going to hold this thing down? Apparently nothing. We are now green on the day finally, so that was just took a minute to hold. But you can see right now for AMD starting to go to the downside. We're now $2 now in the money and doing quite well for now. I mean, I have no idea where this is going. Let's bid some more here at 50, see if we can get a little bit more out now. But there's AMD for now on a little bit of a pullback. We're able to get something out. Let's see if we can get a little bit more out of AMD. So nice little $2 winner there, but had to be patient and wait for it. So hopefully it cranks even lower, man. I'm bidding 230 flat, and then we'll wait to see about this 228 fill, but that's still a minute away right now. So, yeah, I mean, we talked about that with President Trump talking tomorrow at Davos. So
we have Greer talking right now.
Yep.
Effectively, like Greer is saying the tariff threat is an appropriate use of tariffs, which obviously is a big deal. And then keep in mind, we do have a situation where it's non-zero chance that the Supreme Court actually gives a ruling on the tariffs. Today, we're expecting potentially that. If it happens, it would be after 10 o'clock. So we have about 20 minutes for that to go. So I just reloaded on IBIT at VWAP. So it comes into VWAP, fails a high, gets to pretty much the low of the day, got some out. Going to look for this one to potentially continue down. We already talked about Tesla, so need to go back over there. But silver continues its fall. So it's still 5.5% up, but since the open, we've already dropped almost a full dollar. Just looking for it to fill the gap a little bit further. But once I see a trend break of this down move, which is getting steeper, then I would look for the long in SLV. So plenty moving around here, no questions asked. And I see nothing is really halted in some small cappers, but obviously you've got enough big cap movement off the open that that's definitely keeping you engaged. Adara, I believe.
Guys, in addition to comments from Greer, which I haven't seen come through in the past couple minutes, we also have comments coming from UK Chancellor Reeves saying that she's going to be seeing U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick later today. So it looks like a UK-U.S. potential trade meeting happening later today, according to comments from UK Chancellor Rachel Reeves. Back to you.
The second you said that headline, I'm like, okay, and now we're starting to go. What was just getting filled, low of the day, and now you're breaking back out. So this is kind of the topsy-turvy we're in. Like if you're trading inside the range, your best bet is just take it all out instead of take a little bit out and try to hold for more, is what it is. But the next available pop, we get to the pre-market high on IBIT. I got to zoom in so you can see it better. I'm going to give it 51.8. Look for this one to maybe press into the high before taking our next salvo in it. And by the way, as simultaneously, silver is looking to break this trend. It can do so over the volume-weighted average price. Once it does, I'll try to get long. I got to clean up some of these dark pool wicks. There's a few extra of them this morning that are a little crazy.
Yeah, big time movement here. So watch out for your charting. But yeah, we're waiting for AMD to break through 233. So that's going to be my short that we have on right now. And it's been pretty good, man. We just reloaded it there and got some more out to the downside. So I know it's been a tough day there with just the market in general starting to sort of feel like it wanted to go a little higher. You've been on IBIT, so I'm going to go over to Ethereum and just have a quick little look there as well. So I know IBIT's been sort of starting to go edge a little bit higher at 91.3. Ethereum, very similar, trying to get back to that, now we're going, Neil. Yes, there it is, man. All right, so far so good here as we get this money storm going. I actually don't have the stream deck open, I just realized, but there it is. Nice move down. I got to get filled though first, man. We're at 73. Maybe, I don't know why that's not filling, but right there, nice move down. One little push and we'll get, okay, well, it doesn't want to go. So we'll bid some 231s, get that fill right there. But here we go, man. It's the money storm happening right now for us on AMD, now $2.50. We are now huge now. This is now going to be a very big trade. All right, man, sit up, man. Get your posture correct as we get this bid going. Big time trading there. Made our day. There it goes. So if I was to flatten out now, we'd add our goal, but I tend to lose this. So let's wait to see what winds up happening right now. 230, huge move to the downside, man. We stay in our short. We believed in it. Now let's see if this market wants to collapse all over itself. $3 right now in the money on this AMD trade. So there it goes, man. Stick with it and working out right here for AMD.
Yeah, that's what it's about. I mean, for me, I'm not sticking with it. I'm just making a new trade. Boom. It goes up and breaks the high, get out, and then wait for it to get to the next level, and then take the topping tail as we come right back in. But if the market's coming back in, then I think silver is going to be a play to the long side if the market ends up weak. So sticking with that, got to look to what is next. And this is a potential trend break here on SLV over volume-weighted average price if we're able to get it. So I'm back into IBIT after it made another topping tail candle, but I'm now hunting silver's move as well. And shout out to everyone in the chat, reminding everybody, make sure you put in $ with your symbols so we can track and make sure we're watching some of the names that you're looking at. Probably the number one story right now moving is going to be the memory names, SNDK, Micron. They just put in some big time moves, but it is just an all-time high topping tail potential here for SNDK. So it filled in the entirety of the gap and showing some signs, at least a little bit, of weakness pulling back in. So very strong moves in SNDK. Very strong move here. If it'll load up in Micron, I would make the assumption Western Digital as well. That's what's leading the market in to said upside. No questions asked.
Okay, again, guys, thanks for watching so far here. Let's go over some other names. I mean, I'm just bidding. Honestly, I'm covering this at VWAP. This is a monster trade, 229. We're taking out some more fills there. If we get into the 200 period and the 50 period, that's where we'll start to cover some more at 228. But let's give it an opportunity to make this move down. It's a big trade. Joe, I hope you're doing well. Get down, man. This is okay. You have a good weekend. Yeah. Spend time and you come in and able to do stuff like this, man. This has been quite a nice start here. to the day. All right, let's go over and have another look at some other stuff. I mean, this has been, again, like we talk about what's on our notes and how we're trying to trade here, right? So there it is, TQ short. We'll see. I got to look at that 53, the high. I don't know what the high is. We'll go look at that. Tesla short, IBIT short, AMD short. So we've got all these shorts on. We just had to wait for it just for a minute. AMD trying to go. Let's have a look. Tesla looks like this might actually be a long, to be honest with you. It's not anywhere near those lows. Looks like it wants to kick back, even though these futures start to try to make a red candle here. Tesla's trying to mature up into that 430 again. So definitely a level to look at there with Tesla. Potentially we got some news with Hyundai and Palantir earlier today. But again, like that's kind of just doing this. Not much going on. And that news was in the pre-market. So I think that was probably right around here, Adair, if you wanted to find out news there with Palantir was this morning there as well. So that's a nice play there. And then Netflix amended to cash their offer. So we can wait to see 27.75 there, 27.75 for WBD. So this will be a good one for you, Neil, if it gets to cash. 27.75. So trading a little bit above that right now, as I guess we're not certain about completion of that deal. But what's up, Adara?
Palantir and Hyundai deal was first announced at 6 a.m. exactly on the dot via a press release. Then at 9:09 a.m. there's a Reuters interview, and this could have been when you get that move here.
Right. Okay.
Palantir deal with. Excuse me, HG Hyundai worth hundreds of millions of dollars, according to Alex Karp. He says he's, quote, very bullish on the Korean market. So it's the interview and not the deal that seems to have made this move here.
Okay, so there you go.
Alex Karp's at Davos as well, so I suspect that you
Yeah.
ear to the ground for any Palantir moves as well. Like he's
Yeah. Let's just pay attention to that, to your point.
he's probably going to be one of the top interviews in terms of entertainment. That is going to be for sure. So look, at the end of the day here, okay, all right, we're pretty close to breaking this one out on SLV, regardless of what the market does. I mean, silver, I think volatility is going to stay. But we just have not been able to sustain any real big up moves, with the exception of this one right off the open. So we get a second green candle in here. That's the long I'm looking for. IBIT's tracking back in toward the low of the day. We do have some small cappers. IBRX. Oh, wait a minute. Is it IRBX or IBRX? I believe it's IBRX. IBRX has been moving around. That's Immunity Bio. It's about to take out. It's taking out the highs as we speak. This one's over VWAP and trending pretty well. So just to cover some of the names that you guys have been paying attention to in our chat, this has gone a little bit, you know what, the last couple of days. Not necessarily something I'd chase, but the squeeze has been on for a while in this, and it is accelerating for sure. But when you get that third day bounce, you really need to hold that opening breakout level. That's a very popular short level if it gets back underneath that $7. All right, I need IBIT to break through the low of the day here. If you can't break the low, there's only one way to go. It's a saying I remember. And if we can't actually bust this low of the day, then I got to respect the fact that it could be a little bit of inside range and start working off of VWAP and maybe not even that high. Looking for the next reload in the IBIT short. Doesn't look like we're going to get the silver long yet. Still looking pretty weak.
Yeah, we're bleeding here on AMD, and I don't even really feel like getting out of this stock at all. I'm bidding 227 now, 227 quarters. But you know what? Now that I see that, let's put a little something. We did get 228.50 there. Let's just go 228 like 15s. Maybe we can get out of a piece. Okay, down there as well, as this is now not $1, not $2, not $3, but $4 right now in the money over here. So hopefully, if this is your style of trading, I was just asking people in the chat if you guys had this trade as well, because this is a big one, man. Today does feel a little different in the way that I still think there's a huge potential move downside, not as much so upside. I've been feeling short all day, and not necessarily, it's been right because I can look over and see the net, but it's not actually, the market isn't right now. It's trying to figure out what it wants to do. We opened up around here, actually, at 9:30, down here, and then had that huge move. We said, let's see what 25,000 has to stay today. Nothing. It doesn't even come close. That's 25.2 right there, and then a huge move up to 25,350, and now we're starting, okay, now let's go. Now maybe we can get a lot lower rate here. So, yeah, man, it is a big trade here today. You're welcome, Silverado Blue, right there, man, for all that help, and I just hope that, you know, you're able to watch, you know, Neil and myself. There it comes right down into 228 right now. Now we're 450 in the money, right? Again, for that. And this is why we're here for you guys, right? I mean, you know, again, thank you. There it is. I got you. Thank you so much, Jonathan. You're welcome, man. I mean, this is why we're here. We're looking at the chat. We're trying to figure out if you guys have anything. Here's another one right now, rolling with you on that AMD short. Great job on that one. I hope you guys are printing. I know we are right over here, now down in the money, $4. So great job by everybody there today. Neil's got the short IBIT. We've got the short AMD, and it's been a hell of a start to your Tuesday.
Absolutely big time start as the markets are heading to the downside. You can take advantage, if you're a savvy Canadian trader, of movement like this with Global X by Beta, or Beta Pro by Global X, and their Nasdaq 100, S&P 500, 3X daily leveraged ETFs. They got built-in FX hedging, so you can amplify these short-term moves and minimize the impact of currency swings. So whether you're bullish or bearish, doesn't really matter. They're built for active traders like yourselves if you're ready to take on the markets. Make sure you read the full disclosure, risk disclosure in the perspective at betapro.ca before investing. Scan the QR code you see out in front of you. And remember, with leveraged ETFs, trading vehicles, fantastic. But decay is always going to get you in the longer term. So yeah, fantastic for trading. Looks like we are going to fill in the majority of this gap. Just wanted to quickly show you the target here, 51 even on IBIT. Once we're in, pretty close to it. Really thought this was going to be our first floor, so we'll take that first percentage point and then work into the next trade when it does happen. I say when it does happen, but probably does. But the other side of it is looking at what is next, and that's waiting for my entry. As I said, didn't really happen yet in SLV, but it's holding the trend line. If we can break this trend line out, I'm still looking long. The fact that this is potentially breaking out would make some sense in the market weakness for me. As we're gap up on negative headlines and sentiment. So really, if this is going to reverse, I'd expect it because the market got weak. And that's the anticipation I have here for silver to break trend. But just have to be patient with it. Like on Friday, we waited this one out for a couple of shots to take reversions on it, and that's what ended up working instead of just buying it at a price level, which on silver, that hasn't really worked out very well.
No, we're waiting for some sort of a silver pullback there. I did, reach out and took out some more AMD. I mean, we did have such a dramatic move, right? And I was looking at other names like a Marvell starting to. So for AMD, I have about 20% left or so, which probably is too much. Should be getting out a little bit more of that. But there goes Marvell, about to turn green for the day here. So I'm going to actually take out a little bit more AMD as we're starting to look at some of these chip names starting to bounce quite nicely off some of those lows, right? So NVIDIA is the one that really hasn't been doing that work. So maybe this is the name that if we do come back into 181, I mean, essentially I would love the 200 period up here of 182.50, but that could be a play that we are somewhat concerned about if that does come back. Yeah, so there goes AMD again. We're able to just get a fill there at 229 and change, and then whoops, nice upside play there for this name as it continues to get going as the market's making its way back. I'm not, IBIT, I'm not in this name until 52. We probably should have taken it there. We were too much involved with AMD at that time, but that would be a look over there for me. And then as we're talking about IBIT, there's Ethereum, $23 as well. And then some of the bank stocks, like SoFi is moving around here today, down into $25. I may short AMD again if it does get back up to there. But this is what this whole broader market thing is doing right now is the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq both crazy downside. I mean, there's not too much strength at all. We have Walmart going upside there as it's day one into the Nasdaq today. So that could be some artificial buying into the Nasdaq there for WMT. Other than that, right, like Costco's up a little bit, Amazon. We're waiting for a couple more minutes and we'll see if the Supreme Court has
I'm guessing no,
something to say. I'm guessing no as well. And then over here in the electronic technology, part of it, I said that if you were thinking about raising some cash, today's not a horrible day to look at some Intel for that as being a possibility there. And then Micron down here as well, up 4.5% as that name just keeps on going. Micron right now, $378. Is that just is like, wow. New highs, I believe, new all-time highs today for Micron as, yeah, they're saying like, what problem here? Like, we can still produce these this DRAM and regardless of Greenland.
That story won't stop.
Micron's not stopping, no, that is for sure. And Walmart not stopping.
Well, Walmart, I think maybe, it's not going to be the same, I don't think, as Carvana. Way too stable of a stock to have a complete sell-off after it gets added to the index, but I do still believe in a certain extent to the sell the news thing. Like, I'm waiting for a buy the dip opportunity in the next few days as people sell potentially the addition. It just hasn't happened today. That's why it wasn't even on my list. But we're getting a bit of a bounce. I'm looking at VWAP here for IBIT. So if we're not going to get back into the pre-market high, I'll go to the volume weighted average price. It's the first short was there, second one got stopped, and then we had the short into the pre-market highs. And I understand when I'm talking about pre-market highs, it's 24. I know crypto's a 24-hour market, but I'm just talking about from like 7 a.m. or 6 a.m. whenever you happen to start your charting. Silver, sort of the same thing happening. We're going to go to Adara. I just want to quickly point out we could get to 50 on Intel. 2 days in a row, this has already turned at the $50 level. If it gets there again, I'm definitely going to try the fade up at that price. But VWAP I'm waiting for on IBIT, and we're going to Adara 5 minutes until probably nothing. In the Supreme Court, we'll see.
So you guys know here as well, the 10 a.m. potential Supreme Court decision is the only thing to expect at 10 from an economic perspective, because we're not supposed to get any numbers at that time. I do want to mention here, comments coming through from U.S. Trade Representative Jamison Greer. He's talking about inflation, saying that overall the trajectory for inflation is, quote, in check, and that inflation is, quote, going down. So positive inflation view here for Jamison Greer. 6 minutes until we potentially get an answer from this U.S. Supreme Court with regards to tariffs. Back to you.
Okay. I'm just going to just reload a little bit up here. Like, I don't want to give away, obviously, what we've made on AMD, because we did get a bunch of covers down here at 228, and now it's shooting up $4. We were just saying we're $4 in the money, and now it's all the way back. So that's why you got to take profit. That's why you draw these pretty lines on here and have them there. So the 200 period, the 50 period, all came in together. So we did go from the high of the day short into the lows again, and then right back up to the highs. So AMD and these chip names are very, very, very strong. So we're going to keep on figuring out what our mics. Hit it a little bit, and shake it around and put it back there. Right there. So hopefully that works out better now on the microphone. But Apple's making highs. I mean, the market is coming back. The market's making highs. Apple continue making lows right there, opposite there. I was actually looking when I said highs, and you just mentioned it, at the Intel chart. Intel
50.
Ripping right now. So, okay, here we go. We're probably going to get stopped out. 233 and we're out of AMD. So we'll be a positive stock, but we'll give some back, obviously, if this continues to rip like this. And here it goes, man. 233 right now. Very aggressive move here for AMD.
Yeah, well, aggressive move. Intel's almost at $50.
Crazy.
It just broke that 49. So we play it off our level, but don't fight it. That's the only place that it did have red until you got to 48.6. And until we get to 50, I'm going to probably draw another trend line. But it does seem like now this could be the moment that silver finally turns around. Got to close above VWAP, but while we're watching silver potentially try to reverse,
NVIDIA's going to go then.
Look at GLD. Look at the consolidation off of VWAP. This is accumulating off the volume weighted average price and has been doing so for the last 20 minutes, all sideways action potentially breaking out. So I do like that potential breakout in both the metals names. And then skipping back over to something that we have ignored. Okay, I guess maybe you should buy the dip in Alibaba. I was sort of waiting for a little bit lower, that 50 period moving average on the daily. But Alibaba, it's already gone green, but threatening to go green again. You get above 166 quarter, and this is another gap that can get filled in. So, I mean, the market's looking pretty strong, but even some of these Chinese ADRs are looking to attempt to go green here to the upside. I'm a little skeptical about those. But my next trade is looking like silver, unless if and when Bitcoin can get to VWAP or a lower high, I can short that. That doesn't seem to be breaking out yet, but potential break here, finally, a trend break if we can close one more. So 3 minutes and then we get some confirmation here on SLV. But wow. Yeah, well, you can say wow about a lot of things there, Chris. You just said wow Walmart. I mean, what chart isn't a wow? Like V-shape move here in Walmart, getting some weaknesses, the market goes higher. Look at those memory names. They've been absolutely rocketing. We haven't even talked about Tesla. This one might be bucking the trend. I hate to do this for any Tesla bulls, but the market's been trending higher. This has actually been trending down. Doesn't mean it's going to continue to do so, but this has been trending lower. This chart looks like Bitcoin's chart with the lower highs and then the test of the low of the day. Unfortunately, sorry.
$52. I'm going to try a little short here on the Qs. So they're not. I think I just heard in my ear they're not doing. Or I heard something about the Supreme Court. So yeah, I don't think that's coming today again. So that's gonna be a shocker there. And I don't know exactly what the market wants to do about that. So let's just wait to see about this high. I mean, we're going to start the trade here just in case the market does fall down here at 10 a.m. But it doesn't look like right now the the Supreme Court is going to rule on the administration and on any of these tariffs and the legality of them and so on and so forth and what that looks like paying back or whatever. I think if there ever is a ruling on anything like this, then there will be some sort of exceptions and whatnot that happen here for the government because the amount of money they've collected already is huge. So, okay, man, here we go. We're going upside right now. Let's pay attention to what happens around 10 a.m. But right now the market's taking out day's high. So anything short, wrong right now, unless you find something that's near the lows. I know NVIDIA is also, crypto's falling a little bit, but I do see that NVIDIA right here is also near their lows. So if something's weak, it might just be this one. All right, what's up, Adara? We're short AMD and we're short the TQs over here.
Yeah, we're going to talk happening now, guys. Let's take a look here at this market. This is the S&P 500, which gap down here along with pretty much everything else unless it's silver, gold, or some kind of metal. Basically what happened here is looks like there's a bit of a flood, at least initially, or a flight, sorry, to these safe haven assets like the precious metals, as we do have U.S. President Donald Trump announcing his plans to tariff certain European countries with regards to his goal to acquire Greenland. Now, the goals are going to start with a certain tariff here on February 1st, and those tariffs will be increased as of June 1st if these countries don't comply. So interesting look here for the market. Again, as I mentioned here, SLV and GLD were initially really strong to start the day. Right now giving up some of that early strength, but also poised to bounce here off of lows. So that's the look here for these metals and for the overall market. Again, Supreme Court tariff decision could be happening here at 10 a.m. I have not heard or seen anything yet, but I, of course, will keep you all posted. Keep an eye on Coinbase and any of these crypto-related assets as well. You know, NYSE apparently announcing plans to consider tokenizing these companies and have that be available to trade. So that'll be an interesting look. We also, though, have Jameson Greer talking about crypto right now as well, saying, oh, sorry, this is Bessent, actually, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, saying the U.S. government's going to be adding seized Bitcoin to its digital asset treasury. So interesting look. App 11, initially really weak start to the day, but much like the rest of this market trying to rebound, it does have its own story, though, with traders circulating a report from Capital Watch about how apparently the company is being used by Southeast Asian forces as a money laundering, quote, laundromat. So that's APP, last but not least, NFLX, absolutely on watch heading to its earnings report tonight. But even before then, we actually had some updates on its WBD deal. Apparently, the company is agreeing to revise the structure of their previously announced transaction. NFLX now going all cash versus their cash and stock deal previously announced. Keeping an eye out here for tariff news, guys, as we send you back to Sean and Neil.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, Nas, you can always contact Nas. He knows something about laundering money.
Yes, exactly.
Shout out to Affirmative Action, one of the greatest. You know what? We had this discussion before, but that's a legit lyric. No, we're starting to bounce higher on SLV. So we finally got that trend break after essentially all morning, like from 9 o'clock until about now. For an hour, we were sort of sliding back in here. This dark pool wick keeps coming back in, so it is what it is. If we get to the pre-market highs, which is about 86.7, that'll be the exit plan. But I want to start buying the dip into VWAP every chance we get on SLV as it starts to ramp in. And the other thing that's happening right now is Intel is up 5%.
What? Okay.
Okay, I paused just for effect there. Up 5%, caught an upgrade, and the market's down 1.5 on the Nasdaq. But this now has 1, 2, 3, 4 points on ye old trend line. If it breaks the trend, then I can look for the short, which is wild that it's this strong. So yeah, big time movement up there in Intel. We'll see if we can ride with SLV a little bit higher and try to buy this dip into VWAP. And just going back over to Bitcoin, which is not participating in this move. It doesn't even get to VWAP here. So lower highs still happening in BTC. I don't want to jump too far to the downside, but I feel like I almost need to look at this opening range bottom and just start shorting that. If the market stair step up and this is stair step down and I like it short, well, then I should be shorting the next step, which seems like 51.3 instead of 51.4.
We didn't get anything. Well, AMD just keeps going up. We just keep on. Here, I can show you what we've been doing. But right now, it is this futures trade right now that's starting to go for me, which is nice. Glad to see that one moving around here. We just keep on tipping higher here, and it's like we take the short, then we get out like for big wins, and then it takes the top out, and we get stopped out. So I don't know, maybe a little bit lesser. I mean, I don't know. I'm not using a huge amount of shares here, but we could just keep on trying AMD. The reason why I'm over here is NVIDIA is a lot weaker than AMD. So maybe I should just, I was hoping that AMD eventually plays catch up and starts to come to the downside, but right now they're hitting NVIDIA quite aggressively and buying up AMD, which is very, very strange to me. So there's AMD at the top, here's NVIDIA near the lows again. So I don't know, maybe we just got to leave these names alone for now. I mean, Broadcom would be one that we've looked at here a little bit today. It's still down that 3%. We've looked at Intel as well. A name like an Amazon moving 232 and change, actually going decent today, considering what this market's been doing. Tesla's doing stuff as well right now, but yeah.
And then the low of the day.
Oh, Tesla is. Okay, well, so we were right about thinking about that short. It looks like the AMD short is going to be the wrong one. Netflix still up 1%, but that's coming back in as well as we wait for earnings on Netflix. But so far, so good on just shorting the Nasdaq right now as we sort of topped out on that. But yeah, shorting some of these chip names hasn't been right for me so far there today, but we are still short here on AMD. Basically, I was gonna go against 235 for Advanced Micro Devices and just use less shares because I think this name pulls back. There's 235s from Friday's sort of highs. So we'll wait to see if it breaks that, but I'm gonna continue to sort of play a little short here on Advanced Micro Devices while holding onto the short in the future. So if the market does fall in, like I think it does, then at least we got that short. And if AMD wants to go oppo, then we'll lose a little bit on that and then make something with the futures. But
and just a reminder to everybody,
nothing's really going around too much here.
We are not expecting a Supreme Court decision today. Just to reiterate that, it was a chance at 10 o'clock, but I think the best, we've been talking about the best way to proceed is to assume that every single time they could say something, probably not going to. And maybe there'll be some kind of a heads up that, oh yeah, today it's more likely, but until then, kind of a nothing burger from the Supreme Court. And also keep in mind, literally everybody, there's a huge delegation for the US in Davos, and all the big CEOs are there, so we are keeping ear to the ground for any of those stories. But rocket ships to the upside, to the left of them and to the right of them. Intel continues to break higher. I guess at 5% before, but it's finally threatening to break trend. But shorted it at one level, and this is the idea, you can have a setup entry around a price level and short it off the level, and it might look like it's working, but once it breaks away, get away from it and look for a different strategy. And at this point, because we're close to 50, it's just going to be the trend breakdown, which I do like. Silver is continuing to hold VWAP. Did a little bit of a bounce, not a huge one, but a small bounce off VWAP. Nothing crazy to add yet. I don't know if I like the strength yet to add. I want to see it maybe set up on the 15-minute before adding back into that position. IBIT, still nothing doing on IBIT. I do feel like Intel's going to be the next one for me. Just watching what's moving the most right now, and it is mostly chip names. Whether it's the memory names, in this particular case, Intel's kind of doing its own thing, but they've been the sign of strength. So if I think the biggest move is coming in them, then the reversion is going to be the best chance. I just heard lottery.com moving around a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to say this
app. Small cappers are moving. There was some talk that the AppLovin story might be Fugazi.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. AppLovin's almost green right now, as that name is all the way back up. I mean, it does tend to do this every time it gaps down on a short report. It will usually make up the entire move and then some. So this is kind of a common reaction for it. Right. In terms of the story being Fugazi, I need to do more research on that, and I will.
Okay. Again, I was just sort of saying that. I saw some people online saying that. I saw some people in the chat, but thank you, Adair, for the clarification.
Thank you, Adair, for that. We'll get over that, but it's also APLD, Applied Digital, is getting smoked today. These guys getting hit pretty badly, down 10%, about to look like it wants to go close enough to SSR very, very soon here on APLD. So look out now for this move to the downside here again for APLD. PLD as it's going. So watch out there for that move. I was trying to look at, the watch list here to see like what exactly is moving around here on the high side. Out of all the stocks that I watch, there's only a handful of them that are actually green today, including, of course, AMD that I'm shorting right now. Netflix is up a little bit today. XOM is up. ARM is up 2.5%. That's nice. Micron up 4%, and Intel up 5%. Intel is the craziest one. And then if we sort of zoom it around here and change it up and go to the downside of there, there's Marathon. That's down 10%. We actually looked at Marathon today a little bit, and I said, like, what about if we hold that $10 area? That's coming into play very, very soon right there. SMCI down 7%. And again, that was another one where it just went so crazy on Friday that, due for a little bit of a pullback. You can see on the daily chart right there, the 50-period moving average for SMCI. IBIT obviously down as well. We had written that short down, but missed it. I know Neil had it. Roblox down 5%, SMR down 5%, man, Coinbase, everything bleeding to the downside right there right now, especially as these futures continue to go lower. It looks like we'll be stopped out there of AMD now, and maybe we finally throw in the towel, because it's the short on the futures that's printing, not the short here on advanced micro devices. Just takes out 235 right there. Might have been a top around 235. So let's see if that is the case. But right now, yeah, nice downside move in the market, but an upside move here for advanced micro devices. So getting hit on that, but winning on the short. So that's par for the course. As we see there, it is another out right there on the futures. Let's go back over to Adair, see what she's up to.
Officially hearing no tariff decision. So once again, officially still pending your no Supreme Court decision on Trump's tariff authority. Back to you.
Yeah, and thank you, Dara. So official now. What was speculated, obviously, a little bit earlier. So just a quick plan of action here, because Intel did finally break this trend line, give it to the high, prior bar high usually, but I already have the stop at the high of the day.
Ooh la la, some espressos.
There.
Oh, you got the tariffs again.
Oh, we got
this
tariffs.
Is the Greenland espresso is here now, guys.
Espressos.
Okay, we'll have some of that in a second.
Thank you, Randy. Plan of action.
Thank you, Randy.
There. All right. Well.
Yeah. Well, I can hit some espressos.
When in Rome.
Yes, that would be nice if we were actually in Rome, but we are not.
Well, first of all, always. I'm so oh my.
I told you, God's country, man.
Literally I'm not making this up. I was reading a story she was reading me a story. That's how it works these days. Like she's reading me stories, and then she's like, I want to see pictures from our trips. I'm like, whatever. Before in bed, pulled out the phone, and we're just going over literally last night, like Budapest, Rome. But she liked Rome the most. Like, can we go back? Like eventually, but we're going somewhere else. All right, kind of new things. What it's all about. Speaking of new things. Yikes, yikes, yikes. This is not a new stock, sorry, just looking at silver if it can finally retake VWAP here. But Tesla,
damn, man.
Maybe not a new stock for everybody, but certainly one that we haven't really covered. Yeah, Tesla is holding this downtrend pretty precipitously here. It just tried to bounce. Like, look at this topping, well, I guess it's like a reversal candle off of the low of the day. So this wasn't on my list of things to trade, but when I see that kind of an open range in the first half hour where you just trend down into a flat bottom, it just turns into a setup. So I'm going to throw this one up on my fourth. I have like 4 charts up here of the 4 stocks that I'm watching. I'm going to add Tesla to this list and say critical metals, you can get the boot, because if we break this trend up, I like Tesla for reversal long. Ideally, you don't break it down and it doesn't look too much nastier. And then the only new trade is going to be the short here in Intel. Again, give it to the high, look for that pre-market, look for the volume weighted average price, and we'll see if this one can get to the downside. Market coming back in. Whether we get back to that 2% or not, I think that's a reasonable target. The Nasdaq maxed out at about 2%, so a good place to look for a bounce and cover some shorts.
Yeah, for sure. We are just moments away here from potentially breaking lower. We're at the Nasdaq and we're looking at VWAP breaking a little bit lower, and it's actually kind of right on topic here, because if you are a funded futures trader, then this might be interesting to you right here. If someone handed you $1.25 million a trade, would your process change or just your upside? That's the opportunity Funded Futures Network provides. They're a top prop firm that gives traders access to large simulated and live funded accounts every single day. So they've paid millions of dollars to traders around the world with the fast same-day and daily payouts. And right now, evaluation accounts are 50% off. You can buy one, get one free, and no activation fees. You can find the link below or scan that QR code right there to check it out right there on your screen. We want to thank, again, Funded Futures Network for their sponsorship. And yeah, that's a good way of playing the markets these days with somebody else's money. So check them out there, Funded Futures. We, of course, are at Real Trading, and I'll show you the numbers of what people put up there on Friday in just a couple of seconds. Okay, so that's that's the Nasdaq. We just right before we did that read, we took another out there around 50s, 60s. We do have another bid there as well. Oh no, I don't. My next bid is 52.16. Sorry, that's an offer. Would be down there. 51.16 is sort of around the lows, so that's what we're going to try to bid to see if it does come out. And then, you know, just looking at this top tier area here is what I'm going to be looking at for a potential short if we do get back up there. There's 52.16, there's 51.16, so that's kind of been the top and the bottom range here. Hopefully we can kick this back into the downside. We talked about Chinese names early. Alibaba did make a move up to 167 or so. Now getting faded just a bit here as the market's trying to pull back down a little bit. And then, yeah, people talking about PLTR. RKLB, Rocket Lab, was on fire last week. Going to give back a little bit today, but was on fire early, up to $98. And ASTS, another name that was absolutely motoring last week as well, trying to give a little bit back there. So if you're looking for some relative strength, it's over there. And then Mara looks like it's going to break $10 marathon, especially if Bitcoin breaks through 90,000. So a nice little bounce there off 1025 for marathon. Let's wait to see if and what winds up happening here. Hopefully a bounce off of 90,000 for you crypto traders looking for the long.
Yeah, well, I'd venture like right now, Bitcoin's at least trying, doing its best efforts, but it's not doing a very good job because this is a potential trend break, and look at the rejection as we speak. But kind of looking at this bid here on Intel, and some of these chips have been so strong, even when it just tried to break through 49. I had the short, I have the short in here. The second it broke 49, I'm like, okay, let's see how that move works. Instantly gets bid in the high 90s. So it just takes them out almost instantaneously, because that's the kind of break after a trend break at an even dollar. I'm expecting the sellers to start to win. And when that doesn't happen, get some out on the way to VWAP. And if we just hold here sideways for long enough, you're going to break higher. Almost certainly. Like it's a bull flag any way you cut it. So that trend break doesn't fall through right there. Got to take some out to lessen the pressure. Let's go to the super chat here. If you can throw it up there. Andre, thank you very much. Sand Viper. Ooh, okay, I like that name. Is there a better daily chart than ENS? How would you go about taking profits? Thanks, love the show. Well, I haven't looked at it, so I couldn't tell you. But generally speaking, there's always a better chart. There's always a better chart. There's always a worse chart. If you think you're looking at the worst chart of all time, trust me, there's something else which is terrible. So this is a good-looking daily chart. I don't know. Look at SNDK. SNDK's chart's better than this one. I'm not taking anything away, but there's always something a little bit crazier. What I do for taking profits on trades like this, personally, if I'm in a long, it was GE Vernova that was similar. I just look at measured, maybe like a measured move, like how long, like where did it consolidate? There's a consolidation. And you know, we had $30 here, so when it went the first $30, usually I would take some profit, and the next $30, I just start thinking of that as my take profit. Like whatever the consolidation range was, I tend to look at like that kind of a gap and take profit out, or just look at some kind of a trend line. That's the only way I play these things in the long term. And then once I'm sort of out everything I want, you know, look for maybe dip buys if I still like the continuation play. So yeah, it was $30 of consolidation at the bottom. I try to keep it as simple as that if I can. So pulling back in to this prior support on SLV, if we bounce 85.5, that'll be a place to try to add to it, but we're losing VWAP. This is why it never at any point looked like an add at VWAP, because it wasn't making higher highs and higher lows off that entry point. So until I see that, I don't see any kind of a secondary salvo in this. And oddly enough, IBIT is holding a trend break. So IBIT liked it for the short before, but now suddenly it's trying to break trend and head back into the upside. What I thought Tesla might do, looks like Bitcoin is actually doing as we speak.
Yeah, just messaging some people from my hockey over here. All right, so yeah, it looks like we're going to be right here with these futures, man. I mean, we're starting to go lower right now as this market looks to bleed just a little bit there, and I think it's brought to you by a lot of the bigger names today. I mean, Apple at the lows right now, NVIDIA. So the two largest sort of constituents here as part of the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq are trying to, push some of these lows. But it's amazing because I keep shorting AMD, and that's the one that's sort of kicking off to the upside here again. But it's AMD downside, it's Apple downside, it's Netflix trying to go upside. We already went through all the names that are trying to go here today. JP Morgan, maybe some of these bank names are going to help us out here. They're already through earnings, so now we can maybe now focus on exactly how much records these guys are putting up right now on the banking sector. I know there's a lot of traders that have been looking at this move down and trying to say, hey, where can we find some potential value right now? Maybe there is in the banks. They've already showed up, man, and put out some great numbers. And then, a name like a Morgan Stanley or a Goldman Sachs or whomever, here not to play around, especially on the year of what should be less regulations. We talked about the Time Warner, Warner Brothers Discovery, Paramount, Netflix sort of deal starting to finally now look like it wants to come through again. So that should help with some of the, whoever's like underwriting that deal, will get some nice fees as well. And that's Goldman Sachs. Also looking to bring in SpaceX this coming year, Anthropic, Stripe. There's a bunch of different IPOs that could kick out. So, looking for strength in some of these spaces makes a little bit of sense as well. All right, so we're having a little bit of a pullback now. I'm going to take this opportunity to get some more out of AMD as it's finally starting to break through right now, back down in. So we'll take some 234s and see if it is getting weaker. We go back to our futures trade here, and that's just holding out. So I'm going to put another bid at 52, just take some out, and just wait to see what winds up happening here with advanced micro devices. Look, hopefully it cracks a little bit lower. I'm waiting here at 233.75, get a little bit of this windfall breaking through 234, and then we'll just see if finally this, I don't know if it's going to give it up though. Let me bid out some more at 11s. There we go. I crossed the market. There we go. Can't even get filled, but we do. Let's see if we do get a drip down now. Low here on advanced micro. I mean, I don't think it breaks. We already seen it hold the 50 period. So my target right now, 232.50 or so for AMD.
Yeah, so prior bar eventually hit on our trend break. So we just come back over. Here we go. Thank you very much. So it was our trend break. There's our prior bar out. Just left it in and never added to it. Now looking for the next possible trade. I think we're still, when was the last? On Friday, we had dip, rip, and then the second pullback ended up being a bigger one. But this is still very much inside the range. So I feel like it might have to either run the low of the day or just show me some higher lows to take in that secondary play. IBIT, thankfully, we did not actually like the long in this on that break. It's still putting in lower highs. So I'm going to start playing with this underneath the volume weighted average price. We're about to go to the small cap recap. I know there's been a lot of names running out there. Keep throwing them in the chat. Make sure you use that $sign. But time to finally have a deeper dive into some of those small caps as we speak, because Adara is locked and loaded for one of the more popular segments, which is small cap recap.
Tons of small caps out here today. Obviously, we can't focus on all of them, but here are three that you can keep an eye on. And a lot of these have also rallied in the past as well. So, certainly names that do have that potential within them for these big moves. IVF is the ticker for this first name here, in vitro fertility companies. Looks like this initially started moving here on Friday after traders circulated an unconfirmed rumor that U.S. President Donald Trump is trying to make fertility treatments cheaper for Americans in order to boost birth rates. Now, it is true that we've had some kind of IVF and fertility-related news from Trump in the past, though, of course, this is unconfirmed, but IVF certainly to the upside. Then we have IBRX Immunity Bio, this one almost at intraday highs after announcing that it held a Type B end-of-phase meeting with the FDA with regards to one of its applications for this treatment for non-muscle invasive bladder cancer. So IBRX FDA treatment news potentially, good look for the stock. Last but not least, CRVS Corvus Pharmaceuticals. This one I know has been discussed a lot by the chat today. This company to the upside after highlighting data from its cohort 4, confirming results for placebo-controlled phase 1 clinical trials. So we've got a lot of biotech stuff on watch for small caps today. I do just want to mention one headline I just saw as I was scrolling through here. ALTS. This is Alt 5 Sigma Corporation. They're involved with World Liberty Financial, which of course is the Trump family's crypto venture. Donald Trump Jr., DJ TJ as he's sometimes called, is teasing a, quote, big announcement with regards to ALTS. Apparently, I was also seeing earlier the company is going to be involved in some kind of Mar-a-Lago conference. So a couple different headlines here for ALTS this morning. Back to you.
No, with the second Adair said headline, I'm like, well, everything just hit the offer at the same moment. The Nasdaq bouncing, Tesla attempting to bounce here. Apologies for my Tesla chart. Tesla's going to be that one chart today, which now hates me. Bitcoin just caught a bit of a bid. Now it's rushing into the volume weighted average price. If it breaks VWAP, I have to start thinking about the other direction. But at least for now, we'll stay on pattern with this.
Devices.
But you look at, I just saw in the chat here, Robert Vital. If you look at some of the memory names, like, okay, like the market spiking, going higher. Micron just had a huge reversal candle. Like it popped when the market popped, got right to VWAP, and then dropped $3. Now it's a $300 stock, but still. This is now $12 from its high and starting to lose some of the I guess the glean that it had earlier in the session. It was the memory names which led the market early. The fact that they didn't participate in that bounce is certainly worth noting. But I'm going back to the well here on IBIT at the volume weighted average price. Just seems like it's one of the few things that's been holding expectation, like lower highs all the way through. So I'm reshorting this one at VWAP. And good thing we didn't get back into silver. It's not showing any signs. Whoops. It's not showing any signs of strength. We're still in another downward channel. We'll wait for it to make another reversion to take a shot at silver again. And another super chat from David. Appreciate you. I think it's David. Yeah, it's
Yep.
David. Just your 2 cents, but see the tariff ruling can kick down the road as a bit of a damper for speed wobbles in the market. Yeah, and again, they just keep kicking this can down the road. I think we're going to expect a little bit more of that. You have to remember, like the Supreme Court doesn't care about like our timeline for resolution.
Right.
It's just we can want there to be an answer, but they take their time. They understand the precedents that get set, and then on top of this, remember there's other avenues for legality of the tariffs in the first place. So getting a hard answer on the future of tariffs from this ruling isn't even that certain anyways. Probably a mixed ruling, and then there's other ways for the president to put them on. So we could be making a fuss about semi-nothing burger.
Yeah, it might be nothing. I think it'll give, like you were saying, a little wobble there in the market. I think you're right about that one. I'm going to go wobble over to Palantir now because shorting AMD, which keeps going higher, is not working. So there goes Palantir 170, trying to make a move lower off of 170 right now. Going to give it to 171, kind of where we closed. I mean, if this name's going to turn green, then wow on that one, especially if this market turns around. We do know that we have much more than $1 worth of risk into this short here for Palantir. I mean, that's risking $1, but the upside, if we do fall back in, like my first fill is going to be right here at 169.25. Hopefully that can come in. And then after that, we'll wait to see if we do get a downside push, and we'll average it in up at 170.50 and then just try to hold out for a lower move. But I'm really surprised that this market is making a move back. I mean, this is going to be another one of those taco trades where, you hear Trump sort of shake the trees a little bit there and, make some moves to the low side where we all sort of start to say, hey, what about those critical metal talk, right? The minerals, the metals, rare earth, all that. Like this was up 10% in the pre-market, right? Now you're down 4%. Come on, there it is. Now you're down 4% right here in CRML as that continues to go lower. We looked at lithium as well today. That made a move higher. Now that's fallen back in. What about SMR? Like some of these plays that still, wow, AMD is at 237, man. That thing's going
237? No.
I think it's going parabolic right now a little bit. SMR up to 20 and falling back in as well. So as some of these chip names get going here, maybe NVIDIA's finally off the bottom there. I mean, it just kept on bouncing off one stone. Like we could have gone long there. We chose to short AMD and we chose pain, I guess, in that short. But right now, NVIDIA just keeps, ticking higher right now, but not through their lows. We'll see if it can hold 179.50. There we go, right back up to VWAP. I'd say this looks like a short, but the market, to me, I'm already short, and we're short Palantir. So I don't know, man. I just little surprised at how aggressive AMD went to the upside, and now wondering if we want to do the same thing here with NVIDIA. We could go short now against 181, but that would be it. Like, don't fight this like I was doing on AMD. Just kept on ripping faces off to the north side there. But Intel's near 50 probably.
It's at 49.6. It's getting very close. Netflix is actually weak, which is, it'll do its own thing today for obvious reasons going into their earnings today. Just looking at some other names that might be moving around. I know Tesla, I got to show you maybe it's working now. Never mind. All right, I'll show you this chart on Tesla because my black chart's fine. It's just when I try to show you Tesla on that other chart, you can see what's happening. But Tesla finally breaking away from this downtrend. So there's your lower highs. The breakout through 427 looks pretty interesting here on TSLA. And recently, like that stock has been, I'd say weak, but it's starting to show signs of strength here. You're not seeing it in the metals at all. As I mentioned, I'm waiting for Intel to get to the 50 level. But if we can break away this 427 here on Tesla, and again, apologies for this particular chart, the black one's just fine. I think that has some room to maybe fill in the gap to 430. IBIT is holding around VWAP, or Bitcoin, I should say, is holding that volume weighted average price in some lower highs. Doesn't really matter that it's down 5%, but obviously this was, Bitcoin between 90 and 91 all morning long. Hasn't really broken out when the market is. So as long as that trend can continue, when the market's at that top looking for a curl, my general preference would be something which is making a lower high and trending down to play that short. And if we break the top, look for something to play maybe catch-up trade to the long side. Don't want to chase any highs here and don't want to short anything that isn't following a pattern as we speak. So we're at about 10:30 here. Yeah. This is usually when I like VWAP trades and I always like trend breaks, but you want to slow down and maybe reassess where relative strength and weakness is going to be. I think that's an important one. And one of those names, in terms of relative weakness, has to be critical metals. Remember earlier we were talking about how strong some of these plays were? Well, look at how it wasn't doing anything in the pre-market, and that's why I didn't even watch this at the open for any kind of a breakout trade. This suddenly is showing you a little bit more of okay, well, we got some consolidation a second time, but it's got now a bit of a downtrend that I can play for a trend break, at least potentially. Down 4%, it's already gone red to green. You have a nice little consolidation here. If this can break, there could be a scalp into VWAP, but this was an easy sit it out, right? You gap up that much on positive sentiment in the space, and there's no pre-market volume, there's no breakout, it's just sliding around here. At the open, there was no bid, but it's looking a little bit more constructive now, at least for a potential break back up trade. So in IBIT for now. No break on Tesla yet, unfortunately. And Intel, it's 1% away from 50, but until it gets to 50, there's no next trade for me there.
Yeah, same Christopher Ocean there. I do want to short some AMD real bad, but I've already been doing that. All right, so GLD's on the way down right there. Not as bad as silver, as we did talk about some metals there with Neil, but silver's making lows. That's still the gold chart. There's silver right now taking out this sort of pre-market levels of at 8 a.m. where we made some of these. These are just dark prints, so I don't really consider these levels as being that important. But right into here, 84.50, you've broken below VWAP. Here comes the short. We had written down on our note that we did like a short against VWAP there for silver, but kind of missed that. So if we can come back up into 85.50 or change, we'll see if SLV creates a downside pressure point there for us as well. Robinhood, shout out to my good friend Joe, who is recovering maybe later this week, maybe not. We'll be in, but Robinhood right there, nice move higher. Does not get into the nines again. That's twice. We keep calling 9 handle on this name, but keeps on bouncing off 100. So there it is right there. I think Robinhood is very, very close to breaking, man. And when it does, I don't think it's going to be a good break there. Maybe even like a severe fracture. Down into $90 or so, I think, is potentially where Robinhood goes. And I don't know if that's true or not, but that looks like potentially where it might be going.
I'm gonna make a bonus. I shouldn't make a bonus.
And then yeah, well, no, and then you got Jared Stidham coming there. That was crazy. The New England Patriots will be representing the AFC. Oh, by the way, what a great last week, man. We built a parlay live on the show. If you guys remember, we stayed away from the Buffalo game. We nailed that parlay. We had Rams, which was close, man. That went to OT. We had Rams, Seahawks, Patriots. Easy day. Crazy. Right there. Made some money on that.
So much fun.
There. Yeah, the Bears are a good team, but
they're fun to watch. I don't like. They got some flaws, but that is maybe one of the most fun teams to watch.
Not much defense this weekend.
There was defense in that Patriots game.
Yeah, by the Patriots, I guess.
No, but the Houston defense was in.
Oh, yeah, well, the Houston, they are a good defense.
Winning quarterback fumbles the ball 4 times and throws a pick and wins the game easily.
Yeah,
I've never seen anything like that. Like Drake May played like trash and won easily, and you can't even pretend he played well.
No,
it's like, no, that Houston defense, it's just a shame.
Just goes to show you what defense does. Like Jordan Love goes 4-0, four picks, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, and they can't win. But then, as you just said there, Drake May. But in defense, that's what's happening right now in the NFL for sure. All right, man, the TQs goes right to the highs, and we do get stopped out of that one as well, as the market just keeps on ripping higher. So I don't know really what to do here. It does feel like a tilapia kind of day, the way this market's going. But TQ's nice upside move right there into the high of the day. No real reason for it to turn around. I mean, IBIT's now at 91,000, trying to get there. Sorry, BTC's at 91,000. So I assume IBIT's getting closer and closer to that 52 marker. But yeah, not really. So we have to wait for that to happen now. But yeah, stopped out of the futures right there. I would love to go short on something. I think this is well overdone to the upside. But you know, all these shorts, like we made money every time on these trades before we got blown out of them all. So it's just like short down, taken out, and now I think the right thing to do is just to kind of wait. It's funny that Palantir's the one that's sort of doing not much here in the wake of a big move in the future. So we'll have to wait to see. But Palantir right now saying hold my beer a little bit, as that might be the short that eventually wins, but not the Nasdaq, as that makes a new high right there right now. So 53, I guess we got to wait out for the NQs. Marvell, eh?
Yeah, if you're looking at the 53, 25.42, I think. Oh, you're talking about the.
I was talking about the TQs. Yeah.
All right, that's where the confusion.
Wow,
was.
Marvell.
I think if you're looking at the Nasdaq futures, 25.45 would be that high that I think you can get yourself into. At least for now, VWAP is holding out on IBIT, but I'm not liking what I see. So again, it's just my stop at the prior high. So prior support turns into this little resistance, and I'm jumping out of it. Like the first short was so clean, and it got into the level on a 3-minute chart. You basically didn't have any press through. This is like 3 candles in a row to the upside. But silver is at least attempting to break trend, which is weird because when the market's going up, silver's been going down, and it was when the market pulled back, that's where you got that first trend break. All of a sudden, it's threatening to break higher with the market, but is what it is. My plan of action was to take trend breaks in silver when it broke any kind of a downtrend, and that's what's happening here. If it breaks 85, bless you. If it breaks 85, then we get the confirmation of this trend break, and then I can play it into the volume weighted average price. If it doesn't, then this one still remains a bit of a flush, and all roads seem like they were leading to 50 on Intel, and it's about to get there. I'm taking 2 shots at Intel. Each time it's given 1 fill on the bid and then broken the prior high. And now we're at $49.99. If you're hoping there's a bunch of offers out there, there aren't. It's not even a big level at 50, and Intel doesn't care. It's done 50 million shares. It'll chew right through that. So I need to see it either false break 50, not get through like 10s or 15s and come back in, or just sort of break the trend from the volume weighted average price, and then I can take an entry. Looking for scalp trades at this point on Intel. There's the 50 break. There wasn't a lot of shares on the offer. It had no trouble getting through that whatsoever. Let's see if it has any push through that level as Intel 6.5% to the upside. And remember,
wow,
the government bought it $19. $19. That looks pretty good. Their earnings call is going to be
the next time the government does
very interesting earnings call. Yeah, the next time Trump makes an investment, not a bad place to join.
Yeah, I think we've learned our lesson on that one. Follow the
Every
yellow
time.
brick
Maybe
road.
the only one that wasn't great was LAC, I would say. Right?
Yeah, well, it was good for a minute.
Good, but it wasn't.
Not now.
It didn't last.
Yeah,
is what I was sort of getting at.
And look, the last time we punched through on Intel, I was here with Obi, and it almost. Well, I guess that must have been the pre-market, or that was it was this day right here, and we got as high as $50.40. So I think that's really the top for Intel. I'd almost play. That's why I didn't take it. I'd almost play this 50. area right there as the top, 50-50 or so, not $50 flat. But yeah, what a huge move up there for it. It's too bad because last time I traded and I played it with quite a big amount of shares, breaking through 50, and then it just wobbled up here before falling back down. Now it looks like it's doing much more than wobbling and trying to actually hold this 50 bid. So that's nice. I mean, it still could fall, but it looks like for right now, it's sticking up just a little bit longer than it at least did last time. So maybe there is a long bias here. Yeah, well, obviously there is today, but through this $50 mark right now on Intel. So watch out for that one going a little bit higher there as well. Alibaba has been a good story over the last little while. You know, got a little nervousness there as, you know, China came into work, and then we got some words that Quen and sort of their LLM and some of the chips that Alibaba's working on has caught a little bit of, you know, tailwind in this situation from China. Quen had, I don't know, hundreds of millions of downloads. And so that system seems to be working out over there for Alibaba. I mean, Chinese will probably, you know, continue to be encouraged to download, you know, their LLMs, and I could see why. I mean, they're putting work in there that their, you know, government and their people want more than a Gemini or something like that. So on Gemini's standpoint, though, Google 325. Look, this could go green today as well, as the market has really battled back, and so has Google. Nice little bottom there at 320 up to 325. There goes GOOGL. You could trade with the L or without the L on Google, just be the different class of shares. And try to find strength today. You're going to have to only look in one sector, and that's going to be energy. Right there, XOM up 1%. Today, Valero just keeps on going higher. I think like every day we talk about Valero, it's up 1.49% right there for Valero. And Nat Gas itself, or sorry, not Nat Gas, CL, the light sweet crude there, we're on the G contract, I believe, into February, unless that's switched over. But there it is, $61 right now for, yeah, it must be the next month because there's not too much volume there. But oil still going higher today, up that 2%. I'll get the better contract for you momentarily. This just went to 169.50, so that's 50 cents in the money on Palantir, but I did not put any bids down there. Maybe we should. We were waiting for $1 on this play, but because we just bounced, let's put out about 10% or so down here near 50s in case that does make that move again, and we don't want to ignore that. We almost got 170.50. We came about 10 cents away from doing that right now. But let's see if Palantir, just another 10 cents down, and we'll get our first fill for the profit side of things there on PLTR. And we'll wait to see if the futures want to get going or not. Yeah, there it is. Downside play there for Palantir for now.
Yeah, and thank you for reminding me, because both, not just your nat gas futures, but also your oil futures to flip over to the next contract. Looking at the March contract. So if you haven't done so, probably a good idea. Not that we look at energy too much, but you want to see what's going on in every single market. And speaking of, it's timely, as it is time to go to Adara for Sector Watch, where we will find out how energy and some sectors that are not tech are doing today.
Well, energy, Neil, is actually one of the few green sectors. XOM up about 1% here. Now, non-energy minerals, though, does have a couple names that are also strong. Newmont is one of them, NEM. Now, of course, that's very likely because these gold and precious metal mining plays are relatively strong right now amidst this move to these safe haven assets like gold, like silver, as we do have U.S. President Donald Trump escalating his country, the U.S., of course, their interest in acquiring Greenland. Other than that, though, Neil and everyone, it is a pretty bleak look for these sectors. Producer manufacturing getting hit particularly hard. 3M down more than 6% in earnings day one. Applied materials down almost 3%, though GEV holding up relatively well. Consumer non-durables having some decent names here. Monster Energy and Procter & Gamble both up roughly 1% each, but Philip Morris in the tobacco space down nearly 3%. Consumer durables getting hit hard. Transportation really rough today. Process industries to the downside. Consumer services, finance all red after these bank names had a relatively decent end to the week. Last week with earnings, and retail trade also struggling. Lowe's down more than 2%. Amazon, the sole Mag 7 name in the sector, down about 2% as well. Tech services and electronic tech both getting hit pretty hard. Oracle down another 3%. IBM down 4%, with some analysts expressing notes here on that tech and IT sector, but electronic tech, a little bit more of a mixed look as we have NVIDIA and Broadcom both sharply to the downside, while other chip plays like AMD, Intel, and a memory play like Micron all to the upside. So a bit more mixed for looking at electronic tech, but tech services almost entirely right across the board. Netflix, one of the few green names here, is going to be on watch ahead of their earnings after the bell today. Back to you, and do make sure to like and subscribe.
Yes, sir. Make sure you hit that like. Make sure you hit the subscribe. Shout out to Adara. And throw the Z's at them. That brings me back to online poker playing days. Anyways, if someone takes way too long, you just like throw the Z's in the chat when they're slow playing. Hey, Maple Boys, I love it. That's right, we love some maple syrup. Had some this weekend because that's what you do when you have waffles. Where do you see Palantir heading into earnings in 2 weeks? Can we see 200 after earnings? Wishful thinking. Well, I would put in terms of earnings moves, I wouldn't. Just in terms of like the raw move, I wouldn't say it's wishful thinking to think it moves that much from like a notional standpoint. Like that's not a percentage too far for 2 weeks and then the aftermath of it. That said, it is pretty optimistic because this has been sort of working itself back in, like lower highs through, maybe a retest of that 200 period. I like a 200 period bounce into earnings if it can do so. I think that's going to be the key tell because you had big time support around 150 on Palantir, and that's going to line up with that 200 period, which is a popular dip buy, let's be real. I think that's the spot that you want to look for. Well, anyways, that's the spot that I'm looking for. I think it's optimistic to think that you'll be at 200 with this turmoil going on by the time you get to earnings. But in terms of that much volatility, I would suspect $30 to $40 very much in play after the fact. But it's more the dip that I think is more interesting in the 150 and that 200 period moving average. I tend to look at where it looks like we're heading instead of hoping that we can catch a bid. So yeah, I love the 200 period moving average for a lot of stocks. I don't put that as anyone different.
This is actually really funny here because AMD still going to 240, and then we just saw Intel basically fall off of that exact same level again up here at $50.40. So there goes Intel making moves back into the low side again, things right now as that just keeps on going. Who knows where? I mean, we've already seen a move, a pullback in Intel be part of the story at some point as well. Well, we looked at AMD and we said, wow, AMD is so super strong. I mean, it's only a matter of time before NVIDIA gets going as well. And it just did get going up into 182 right there into the pre-market sort of, or maybe right where we opened up. I wouldn't say the pre-market highs. I mean, that's pretty close for the pre-market as 183, but right into there of 182 again. So that came through and now is getting a little lower there with NVDA as, again, I think a lot of traders a little frustrated with this name, trying to sell off some winners, maybe to raise some cash, but still down 3% right there as NVIDIA is sort of stuck right now. Basically, NVIDIA has been stuck, let's just call it half a year. This is July.
Yeah.
You know, so NVIDIA's really not done much other than their earnings little bonanza right there, where we popped through a bit and then made that move. This is the high of a few of the chip names back from October. So late October when SMH and all that sort of made some of their highs. There's NVIDIA up there at 210, now back to 181, 182 there for NVIDIA. So that name continues to be a problem. And that was probably a good short right there until it proves that it wants to take out that 183. But we haven't been right shorting today. I mean, we've been thought this whole market was a short to start with, literally put everything down as a short, and looks like nothing will be a short other than Netflix, 88 and change. That made a move to $90. They're going to report tonight. Make sure, a lot of you have said, hey, where's the after show? It's coming back tonight as we'll start sort of a little bit of a new format. We'll talk about some of the earnings plays. The big one really, I believe, Adara, is just Netflix there tonight.
IBKR and UAL are the only other two that I would say are worth mentioning here.
So there we go. So we'll get a little bit of love from those two names, IBKR and United. So those will be some good names to look at. So it gives us a little bit of financials. We got the Netflix deal that we'll be talking about, and then we'll go back over to airlines.
Oh, you know what we didn't mention on the Netflix deal? Because if you have a bidding war going on, and I'm going to kick myself for this is a huge fail. Netflix bidding $27.75. That puts it when you still have the $30 outside chance that the Skydance could happen. This actually dipped into 28, almost $28. I would almost think of that 27.75 until we get something like a more firm headline or response as to what the next move would be for Skydance, where they'd move their bid up. Until then, almost like buy it in front of 27.75. I know I've been sort of bearish on Warner Brothers, saying you should sell this thing at the 29 when it gets there each time, but look at the bid at 28. That's using the Netflix bid as a bit of a floor, and it did it today. That's a great reversion trade. That's a 2% reversion trade off the prior low. This is range-bound tradable. In the 29 area, you're looking to sell. In the 28 area, you're looking to buy, and just keep it that simple. So it's not a traditional style trade that we would look at where you're going to get this thing moving like dollars at a time. It'll never go 10% unless there's a higher bid, but there are opportunities out there. Speaking of, finally,
now we're starting to
drop. Yeah, Amazon. Silver just broke the trend and finally broke that 85 level. It's seemingly having a little bit of trouble at the third here, and I just realized, that is the prior low. So you should take more out there. That's the opening range bottom. So on the way to VWAP, take some more out into the opening range low, and then wait for it to test the volume weighted average price. You're still overall trending down, unfortunately. Like if I put this up on a 15-minute and zoom this in for you a little bit, and I have to redraw this, so bear with me. The reason why I say get out at VWAP is you now have this 15-minute trend line to contend with, which is going to coincide with underneath the volume weighted average price. So the high of the day right at the open, the lower high where I had the long before, held at 86.2, and then SLV. This trend line is going to intersect with the volume weighted average price. So I'm going to jump out at VWAP, and then again, look for VWAP to hold again for another potential long trade. So silver, picking your spots has worked for it, but overall, if you've been short, you've been better off in this particular stock. And IBIT, that's one of the few things that has been trending down, but on the way up, got short into VWAP, wicked the top, and then now starting to come back in. So, I mean, you're still weak in crypto land, last I checked. And my guess is BMNR is probably having a horrible day. Your treasury plays, MSTR. Yeah, 7% down, but actually a little bit stronger. So it's not that bad for BMNR, the chart, but 7% down. You're getting outsized moves when the market's strong. These guys aren't participating whatsoever. Sorry, Tom Lee.
Yeah, no, not great there. We just got our 169.25s there on Palantir. So this is actually starting to come in pretty nicely right now. It's funny because we just missed that 170.50 twice. Didn't even get aggressive with it, just sat there at 170.50, did not get any more short. But there it is, a nice little flush down there for the market and for, of course, Palantir. Let me guess, AMD finally starting to turn around? Maybe not. But Palantir, good one there into 169. That's a good little flush. And then the market trying to finally give something. We got stopped out a little bit there at the top. Market trying to give back a little bit now as maybe we've topped out. And again, looking at that NVDA trade might be one other thing. BBAI is on one right now to the upside as well. I don't know what's going on there. But Big Bear AI straight stair-stepping higher as that's looking to turn green. So maybe there. And then another one of the picks that I had was Marvell, and that has sort of started going upside there, up 3%. Like, was not expecting that today for MRVL. Not like when I woke up and it was down one and a bit or whatever, down into $79. Nice straight upside move there for Marvell. Looking, though, top heavy again up here for MRVL. So, man, the market's coming back in. We do have money talks coming up right now. Commerce Secretary Lucknick talking right now at Davos as well. So lots of things could change at any time. Big Bear AI still going up. And let's go back over to Adara, find out what's going on with money talks and back to trading. And then the midday show, Obi and Sharif again.
Talk here about this US dollar. I've talked about this a while here, this daily chart trying to push higher, breaking that previous level of resistance going back to December 9th of 2025, that 99 and a third. We broke past 99 halves, held that as resistance the last 3 days. Now today, we are actually breaking well below that to the downside lows here of around 98.2, currently trading around 98.4, as there is a lot of uncertainty here for this US dollar and for the market at large. We've talked a lot about US President Donald Trump's attempt to acquire Greenland and his use of tariff warnings for some certain European countries as a potential bargaining chip with that in mind. I do want to talk about as well, though, another aspect here for currency that's going to be the Japanese yen versus the US dollar. Japanese yen was on watch, I believe yesterday was one of the times we're looking at this here. Prime Minister of Japan, Takachi, announcing she's going to be dissolving parliament on Friday, calling a snap general election on the 8th of February to secure voter support for her spending plans and her broader policy goals. So Japanese yen certainly on watch. JPY USD, again, in terms of the US dollar, we're going to keep an eye here on the potential Greenland acquisition just for its overall economic impacts, as well as the fact here that we could at some point be getting some tariff resolution from the Supreme Court. The other Supreme Court case to watch out here for with regards to the DXY could be involving Fed's Lisa Cook, who again, U.S. President Donald Trump attempted to fire. That case, I believe, is, from what I've been reading, is set to potentially have early arguments at the Supreme Court as early as tomorrow, so stay tuned. I'll be covering all of that for you guys. In the meantime, DXY weakness as we send you back over to Sean and Neil.
All right.
Thank you very much there, Dara. So hopefully we've got some excitement on tap. I do hear Sharif Mosing.
Yeah, Sharif's here. Sharif's getting ready to go. Got a nice little coffee going on there. He's got
those of you that are asking, oh, where's Joe today? Why is Obi going to be in? Remember, Joe had his ACL surgery, which he's recovering from, so wish him the best. He was in the chat earlier. I don't know if he's still there. I was in the chat earlier, and we'll see him hopefully back, I think, next week. But he's resting up after the surgery and doing well in good spirits, obviously. So you get Obi, oh boy, and oh my, whichever one you happen to like. I'm going to make a bit of a change on SLV. Like the last time, I just kind of kept it as it broke into a resistance spot. I just left the stop at the prior bar. Not this time. Stop goes to break even. Nothing has been sustained big enough. Like if it only goes 50 pennies when the stock has moved like $2 throughout the day, then I'm going to tighten up the stop and not let the last third lose. Whereas IBIT, and not much of a change here in IBIT, still sliding off VWAP. If it puts in another lower high here, I might add to it under VWAP and still looking for it to get back into 51, as it does look incredibly weak for sure. And Remy, no, it's not a trip to Turkey, as everyone likes to joke around there. Actually, I'm considering, to be honest, I'm considering shaving my head again. I like the look.
Yeah, you've done it before.
I'm a huge fan of it. I was toying with it this weekend, and then I actually didn't have time yesterday, anyways, because I thought we'd. Second, it's weird because when you're used to only looking after my daughter, like one kid, and then the neighbor came over, and it's like the two of them going absolutely ham. So yeah, I didn't have as much free time yesterday, which is good because we were super busy. And I forgot to take a picture. We are now like 65% done that Lego roll.
Oh yeah.
It is so cool.
Those are fun things to do.
I can't wait till it's done. Like it is one of the coolest sets I've ever seen. Like it's got a functioning like lift motor. Which
yeah. I like
like
those
part
kind
of
of things. You got some lights going on.
Oh, I can't wait till that thing is done and I'll be able to show you guys. But I want to make sure we show you like an actual finalized project when it starts going. So only about 5 minutes to go. I don't know what lunch is, but it's got to be better than the soggy omelet that I couldn't finish. I know I said it wasn't that bad, but it is.
Yeah, I didn't actually grab one.
And it has nothing to do with the omelet itself. It was a pure condensation. Like it was like waterlogged.
Yeah, that's
which
bad.
is a bit weird, unfortunately.
Bad.
So what can you do?
Well, there was actually lunch yesterday, and we've seen this. This is January 12th to the 6th, though,
Really?
but I opened up the wrong. This is 19th. Okay. I don't know if this is going to be right or not. Yeah, it looks like it is. They just have the wrong date. Okay, let's go over and see what's for lunch, because I don't remember this happening last week. Because I would have said this already, the oven-charred rapini yesterday. All right, today's flag is Mexican. So we've been adding a little flair to what's for lunch around here. Today is Mexican, and we have here beef chili. Mexican, I guess, here we go, here it is, with Mexican rice right there, with toppings include today lettuce, red onions, tomatoes, cheese, jalapeno, and a corn salad. So Mexican beef chili with rice. Toppings include lettuce, onions, tomatoes, cheese, jalapeno, and a little side corn salad. We saw Randy tariff our coffees, so we'll see if there's going to be a percentage taken off of the corn salad right there, because this is a Mexican, so we got to get NAFTA going and all that kind of stuff to figure out what exactly is going on there. All right,
I might request the espresso in the middle instead of the full
Yeah,
coffee.
there's nothing wrong.
I kind of like
Yeah,
that.
nothing wrong with some espresso.
Doesn't get all freezing cold.
You've already talked about God's country today, and espresso, well taken there. Back, of course, in Italy. Yeah, God's Plan is a good song, too. All right, TQQs making their move lower. So here we go, man. We've got this one on right now. This is going to be a trade that hopefully I can hold all day. We'll see if the futures do come back in. I don't really have any bids. I do have one at VWAP at 51.70, and then we'll look for the low of the day at 51.50. And then after that, man, that's it. We'll see if we can win over there. Palantir is not moving the same as the futures. We did get some nice moves into the quarters. Again, we'll wait to see if we do break out above 171 here for Palantir. Other than that, man, we'll just wait. Is AMD now a short? Well, it wasn't earlier, and let's see if it is now. I mean, breaking back down through, you're going to have OBI coming through soon. So, you know, maybe potentially a reversion trade there on AMD. And then Intel, the exact same trade as the last time OBI and I were on together, and it broke through $50, hit 50.40 essentially, and now is down another $1. Something that we've seen happen over and over again with there's that AMD take, boom, there it is again, boom. Or sorry, Intel, and there it is again right now on INTC. As we keep getting lower and lower here on Intel after that 50 break. But again, really super hot stock, man. Up another 5% on a double upgrade on Intel. So nice move there. Palantir trying to make a move back upside as well.
And just saw a good note in the chat, hopefully from Mark's here. Will there be an after-hours show for earnings? Absolutely. Today we got Netflix leading the way, and then UAL and Interactive Brokers. So those are the three, but Netflix I think we're the most concerned about, so we will cover that name 100%. And then as we get into deeper into earnings season, the big names on those days, we're going to have the aftermarket show for you. Maybe a little different of the format, but it'll still be the coverage you want, like what's actually happening, get the numbers to you, see the stocks as they're moving, and the reaction price action as well. So 1 minute to go till we throw you guys over to Sharif and Obi, but lottery.com is just halted to the downside. So lottery.com is now SEGG, so SEGG here, SEG. Looks like it's indicating a 290 open, at least from what I can see, so it just plunged about $1 change at 340, indicating a 290, now 287 open to said downside, unfortunately, for lottery.com. The name that I am in, which is still putting in lower highs, is now retesting VWAP. If it does another curl at VWAP, it comes up, kind of reverses. I'll wait till the back end, hopefully, to get the trade, which is allow it to press into the high. And if it doesn't break or just wicks it, then look for the re-entry as IBIT's still making some lower highs, so to speak. And Adam James abroad with another super chat. Thank you so much. A bunch of them this morning. I'll throw it up myself. I got it here. Sure. It's CRVS again. You're still in it from $10. It's up 100%. So we did talk about Corvus this morning as one of the small cappers, which was doing A, good volume, B, holding VWAP, and C, just holding trend in general. Almost 100%. Well, I guess it was 100% about a second ago. And it's a blue sky setup here for CRVS as well. So it's still looking very good, well above the volume weighted average price. Volume pretty solid. I'm a little surprised that it's been moving this much without a halt, but it's still a high possibility on any big move to the downside. This could be a halter. So keep that in mind. Volume good, liquidity, I'd say liquidity is pretty solid as opposed to like fantastic would be the best way to look at it on CRVS. And then it's now 11 o'clock, but a disappointing gapper, which thankfully never gave a reason to get in, is still, critical metal is still just holding the bottom. No break into VWAP, just a nice little consolidation here at 17. Still waiting for it to find buyers above 17.25 and then look for a scalp into the volume weighted average price. Still a lot to watch. The market gliding back up as it seems like a Taco Tuesday of sorts.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though we're not eating tacos, the market's
close though. There was some tortilla on that menu as well. So
that's not. Well, it's just weird that it's Tuesday
and it's a Taco Tuesday theme.
And we're getting the Mexican food, but it's not tacos.
You're not wrong.
I don't know.
Definitely not wrong. On that one. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. It's now 11:01. We'll see you guys very, very soon. Thank you to everybody watching today. Over 10,000 of you. Hope you had a great day. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. Adara, everybody, Sharif, thank you for the morning. Brendan, everybody that's part of this team, Ramin, Andre, Fabian. Take care, Joe. We'll see you very, very soon. And we'll pass you over right now to the midday show. All right, and let's enjoy some chili, and we'll see you guys soon. Bye.
Hopefully.